tryna get that money like 1-0-0-0-0-0-0-0-0-0. I'm here with Gino.
Hey, danger, coming with them bangers. Tell me where my paper. Still on the same mission, tryna live major. Don't hate me, hate the game. I'm a player. Feeling like Pac. Represent. On my block. Try to knock me down, but I come up on top. Yeah, they wanna see me flop. Got a plot, want a lot. I won't stop on my pops. Got so many flows, it's insane. They don't really understand the game. Got a plan and it's plain, I ain't playing. I'm just trying to gain. I wanna get that big bag, need that big Rex. Blow up Tic Tac with a blue cheese at. I don't give a fuck about your feedback. Eat that, get back, sit back, watch me spit that kickback. Got so many flows, yeah, they think that I'm insane. Ghetto kids in a lot of pain, all about the bills, ain't shit changed. Danger, coming with them bangers. Tell me where my paper. Still on the same mission, trying to live major. Don't hate me, hate the game, I'm a player. If you a hater, I don't hate you. I'm just really happy that I ain't you. I just wanna thank you. You kept me motivated, so now I motivate you. There's a lot of cake, money on my mind like a banker. Coming through with them bangers, ain't no room for mistakes. Lot of stake, hustle till we get a lot of rooms, lot of stakes. Good kid, but I keep it gangsta. All gas, no brakes. Got cash for the case. More cash in the case. More cash in the safe. More cash on the way. Hustling all day. Ay. Danger, coming with them bangers. Tell me where my paper. Still on the same mission, trying to live major. Don't hate me, hate the game. I'm a player.
Danger, coming with the bangers. Where my fucking paper.
Said I'm taking big shots, just stop where I'm driven, no pit stops. This hot, I ain't playing like a 6 spot. Pissed off, thought I told him this a chip shot. I ain't missing cause you know I'm taking big shots. Just stop where I'm driven, no pit stops. This hot, I ain't playing like a 6 spot. Pissed off, thought I told him this a chip shot. I ain't missing cause you know I'm taking big shots. They been trying to get me cheap like a thrift shop, but I told them it's my time, check the wristwatch. They been talking way before they even doing something. Whoa. If they wanna play, let's get a tip off. Ain't no silver lining, dawg, this some rose gold. Getting new money, I'm a old soul. Yeah, I get it bouncing like a pogo. Whoa. And I'm too cold like Frozone. And my chick elastic, girl. Told them we ain't in the faking, this ain't plastic, girl. Bought a new whip and cash, now my taxi thorough. Way I'm shooting like step with my passes, bro. The way I'm playing the field, I'm in a league of my own. And now they all in they fields, I got them all on my phone. But dog, I'm hitting the climb, I got no time on the low. Way I'm shooting is messy, the way I'm hitting the goals. I'm taking big shots, just stop. Way I'm driven, no pit stops. This hot, I ain't playing like a 6 spot. Pissed off, thought I told him this a chip shot. I ain't missing cause you know I'm taking big shots. Just stop where I'm driven, no pit stops. This hot, I ain't playing like a 6 spot. Pissed off, thought I told him this a chip shot. I ain't missing cause you know I'm taking big shots. I just left, but you know I'm coming back though. Whoa. And you know I don't play by my rags though. Now go and turn it up to the max, whoa. Send a paper to me now like a fax, whoa. Yeah. Got 2 phones ringing off the hook now. When I'm in the city, I get looks now. I was going bad, but I'm good now. Said I had to go and put my foot down. Told them I'ma get it and go. Even in the summer, man, they knowing I'm cold. I got a couple checks coming that I made out the flows. Might get a couple more popping if I do it some more. I gotta do it for real. Said I'm back in my bag. All my digits are climbing.
Up or down, we get paid either way. Long when it bounce, short when it break. Up or down, we get paid either way. Long when it bounce, short when it break. Market go red, that's dinner on place. If you only win one way, you late. Up or down, we get paid either way. Money in the bank when the candles shake. Broke boys pray, we calculate. If you fear both sides, you too late. Price go up, I ride the wave. Price fall fast, I short the grade. They need green just to feel okay. I make money in a hurricane. If you bullish only you half a trader. Market turn red, you a spectator. I stay paid in every layer. Volatility, my elevator. They panic selling, I'm scaling in. They revenge trade, I'm stacking wins. They chasing candles, I fade the trend. They cash out calm while they hold the L. You want direction, I want range. You want hope, I want exchange. You want luck, I want edge. That's why my account don't beg. Up or down, we get paid either way. Long when it bounce, short when it break. Market go red, that's dinner on plates. If you only win one way, you late. Up or down, we get paid either way. Money in the bank when the candles shake. Broke boys pray, we calculate. If you fear both sides, you too late. I don't need green candles to eat. If you're scared too short, you're scared to win. Profit don't care about direction. Bulls celebrate, bears pay me. Volatility is my direct deposit. Your hope is my liquidity. I don't predict, I position. Fear is where the entries live. You pray for pumps, I prepare for dumps. I make money in corrections and celebrations. The trend is your religion. The range is my income. If the chart move, I get paid. Up or down, we get paid either way. Long when it bounce, short when it break. Market go red, that's dinner on plates. If you only win one way, you late. Up or down, we get paid either way. Money in the bank when the candles shake. Broke boys pray, we calculate. If you fear both sides, you too late.
Here we go, at the top of the class on a roll. And it's time to run it up, yeah, you know. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor. Ayy, on the road, here we go. Yeah, we winning by a landslide. Never see me coming on my landmine. Yeah, I ain't taking orders in command like. Yeah, you about to see me on demand like. You know on demand. If you ain't know, you about to understand. Yeah, I got the team by my side, right hand. Yeah, take it to a string, you ain't seen it like that. Yeah, and it's the dream, and we coming for the bag. Yeah, and we ain't never going back now. Future expedited, now we on the fast track now. They won't lend a hand, now they see us on the map now. It's time to act out. Here we go, at the top of the class on a roll. And it's time to run it up, yeah, you know. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor. Ayy, on the road, here we go. Yeah, at the top of the class on a roll. Ayy, and it's time to run it up, yeah, you know. Yeah, maxed out, put the pedal to the floor. Yeah, on the road, here we go. Here we go. Here we go, at the top of the class on a roll. And it's time to run it up, yeah, you know. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor. Ayy, on the road, here we go. Yeah, at the top of the class on a roll. Ayy, and it's time to run it up, yeah, you know. Yeah, maxed out, put the pedal to the floor. Yeah, on the road, here we go. Here we go. On the road, here we go.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Frankie Candles live stream. And Bitcoin has pushed into the value area high, continuing to help our long position play out. And we came into some resistance. Now we're getting a pullback. What are the chances that this pullback is going to be super aggressive and bring us down below 59.8? Are we going to get a continuation up? Are we going through the low volume gap above, guys? I'm going to cover all the TA for you. We'll cover those key levels. I'll give you the bullish case, the bearish case. I'll show the trades. We'll talk about how I'm personally positioned here. honestly, for whatever happens at this point, I actually had to make another sub account to open up a new trade today because I have so many trades open. Kind of annoying because it kind of messed up my entry, but it is what it is. But we'll take a look at the charts for you guys. I'll give you my thoughts on where I think Bitcoin's price is going next. Can we finally break out of the range, or are we just in store for some more pain? Well, hopefully I can answer those questions for you today. We were looking for the continuation up to the value area high based off some very specific signals on Market Cipher B. We got it. The long continues to play, and we'll talk about what's happening next. So shout out to the CandleMafia. Welcome in. 59K, not for a while. Hopefully not. If we could break above that low volume gap, that would be very nice. We have a very key level underneath us that I would like to hold in order to not see 59K, but of course we are positioned for either direction here. Shout out to Chris. We're going to start calling him Chris. How did Frankie get my blow-up doll? Good Lord. Shout out to Chris. Welcome in with the out-of-pocket comment. Shout out to Coin Hoover. Welcome in. We got Benny in the chat. Said, hello, friends. How about those gas prices? Shout out to Benny. We got Alex Martinez in the chat. Shout out to Gen Z. We got Oliver. Said, dang, Mrs. Candles got some work done. Shout out to you, bro. Yeah, some people say I shouldn't treat her like that, but she likes, she likes to get thrown around a little bit. Gen Z says one leg up, one long leg down after. Well, shout out to Gen Z. We'll cover that situation. We got Jesse in the chat. Welcome in. Jesse here to hold down the chat and make sure Chris doesn't get too out of hand. But we got Tony D in here, I believe, as well. But without further ado, guys, we got a lot to look at here on the chart, so let's go ahead and jump on into the charts. Let's get into it. All right, so here we are, guys. Now, if you tuned in to yesterday's live stream, you will know that we were looking for a continuation up into a very key level of resistance, being that value area high Fibonacci confluence. Let me go ahead and bring that golden pocket back, right? We had the golden pocket confluent with that value area high. We have the daily MPOC, and then, of course, the 786 sitting above, sitting between about $71,876 and $70,400. And what happened here, guys? We got the little deviation above. Now we're getting a little bit of a pullback. What is coming next here? Well, we do have some interesting stuff popping up on Market Cipher B, but before we do that, I kind of want to talk about how we got here, just for a little bit of education to show you guys how we were able to profit more on that long position. Obviously, as we were bing-bonging around yesterday, we did have the POC as key support underneath us, and if we wanted to see that continuation up, that was the biggest level to remain above, and on top of that, we did have some of our money flow here on the hourly time frames. We had that 1 hour money flow coming up very beautifully. This was something that we covered in detail yesterday, right? That 1 hour money flow is cruising to the upside, but the reason this was interesting to me was because we did have that 16-hour green dot also printing at the same time, giving a Market Cipher B 1/16th bullish setup, and anytime we see that money flow headed up, it does oftentimes indicate the trend to the upside will continue. We ended up not retesting the POC, but we indeed did see the continuation of the uptrend into our major target, right? So we had a few different reasons to look at this target. Number one, we look for that full volume profile rotation. We were long from the value area low, looking for the full fill of the volume profile, and we'll talk about the possibilities of maybe coming up higher. We'll bring up that low volume gap once again, and I also kind of want to talk about the resistances we have up here before we end up seeing that big move up, because there are a couple of different things, but at the end of the day, we did see that full volume profile rotation. I've said it a million times. I will say it again, and the reason I say it is because I want the Mafia to make money. If I could do this, you can too. Volume profiles will change your life, guys. Clean volume profile rotation. I'll talk about, I am holding another short from the deviation above the high, right? So, excuse me. Take a sip of that. We got another can of Gorgie here. I don't even know what this stuff is, but Mrs. Candles gives it to me. I hope she's not drugging me. I just start like acting weird on stream. I guess it would just be another day on the Frank Candles live stream, but obviously we saw that continuation up. And we were holding that long position, still am. And you guys can see here, I have not even taken profit, up now about $3,500. I think yesterday it was up like, I don't remember, like maybe 2K. So up $3,500 on this. I explained why I wasn't taking profit on this yesterday, so I'll save you that time. But we already got profits locked in on the short. Not going to lie here, guys. The most recent trades here, we are literally short from, I'll just put up in the Discord because I have the actual screenshot here, but literally just like shorting the tops, longing the lows, short from the top, long from the low, and then again short here. I don't know if we're going to get that full rotation back down to the bottom of the range, but the trades are absolutely slapping here. Obviously, have those profits locked in on the short on Femex, and still holding the long position in case we do get that breakout. Got 3K locked in on the short, $1,500 unrealized, guaranteed winning trade. This is a guaranteed risk-free trade, the long, because obviously I haven't taken profit. I guess technically I'd lose $18, but my stop loss is break even on that long. So super cushy position. I'm also holding my other longs that are up massively from higher prices like 91K and 98K. But at the end of the day here, guys, we got that full rotation. We deviated above the high. We saw those confirmations. We had some very specific things we were looking at here. We took out these previous highs with a nice little SFP, some bearish divergences, and now the thought process is, are we going to get stuck inside the profile for a bigger correction? We'll bring up market cipher B and talk about why we may be able to see that. Are we going back down towards the value area low? What am I exactly looking for here? I'll break it down all for you right now. So obviously with the bearish divergences above the high, I cover this every day, guys. Anytime we see those confirmations above the high, it is a valid short setup for me personally, as long as I am interested in that trade, right? This was an area of interest that we looked at yesterday. Surprise, surprise. Here we are. We got those bearish confirmations. And, when we look at this, right, let me pull up the 30-minute time frame here. We are closing 30-minute candles below this value area high. It's not like a guaranteed signal or anything, but it could be indicating acceptance into the range. And when we look at market cipher B, of course, right, yesterday we had the 1-hour money flow coming up, indicating the continuation to the upside with the 16-hour green dot. Another thing we were also looking at for that bigger move up was the green dot to start printing with our 90-minute money flow looking to cross into the green. You can see that money flow was trending up. We're starting to play around a little bit here. We peaked into the green. We're back in the red technically, but overall this is still trending to the upside. And when we look locally though, right, we have that 4-hour red dot looking to print. Now money flow is in the green, indicating that we could potentially see the continuation of the uptrend, and we'll talk about this. But that red dot, right, that red dot may be able to assist, right? Something I'm looking at here for the short is if that 4-hour red dot prints and we see that 15-minute money flow continue to the downside here. You can see it's already crossing over into the red. If we could see that continue, maybe we get another little bounce on this 15-minute green dot, right? Maybe we get some retests. We play about above the high again. But overall, if we can get this 15-minute money flow to come into the red with that 4-hour red dot, that's what I'm going to be looking at for a local signal for a continuation of the downtrend and a potentially bigger pullback into the range. Now, of course, when we look at that 4-hour money flow, we've been faked out here a couple times on money flow. Obviously, in a bear market, money flow does obviously like to spend a lot more time in the red. The fake outs into the green are somewhat likely. But, we have spent a lot of time in the red here. So, as we're peeking into the green, I'm always going to take this signal at face value. And, of course, the face value here is money flow is in the green. We have to be open for a continuation to the upside overall. Red and green dots indicate the ebbs and flows in the market, right? Red dot, green dot. Red dot, green dot, 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 red dot, right? And then the money flow always indicates the overall trend, right? So if this money flow is going to stay in the green here, a red dot will be looked at as an ebb or flow to the downside before a potential higher low and higher high, which it starts to get really interesting once we come up and attack these highs again, because I think everybody knows we have that large volume gap above us. Are we going to see this fill for the much bigger move up towards about $80,000. That's kind of what I want to talk about with you guys today, because we do have some resistance up here. I'll talk about the exact key levels that we have to flip to see that very high probability explosion to the upside. But at the end of the day, if that 4-hour red dot prints, 15-minute money flow comes into the red, we could look, right, of course, for that local trend to continue. And once we're below the value area high, if we see the lower highs and the lower lows, the biggest level of support here is going to be the POC. I believe we covered this on the live stream yesterday. Somebody asked me about pulling the fibs, right? And we had this Fibonacci retracement at the time was not confluent with the POC, right? But if we came up to the value area high or a deviation above, eventually we would see that golden pocket become confluent, which it is now, right? So if we pull this fib, you have the golden pocket POC. This is going to be a key level I'm looking at down below, because of course, if you're looking at this, I could take the volume profiles off the chart. If we're just going to look for the trend to continue up, just like yesterday on the 1 hour, right? We could see that continuation down off the 4-hour red dot. This golden pocket retracement, technically down to the 786. This is the lowest we would want that pullback to go. So this would be a big area of interest in my opinion. Is it a place where I'll take a new long position? No, I'm already holding the long from the low, right? My long is going to be protected if we come down and test this. So I'm just going to hold my long from the low. But at the end of the day, just from a price action perspective, right, this is going to be key support. Golden pocket, 786. And then, of course, you do have the POC of the range, which not only is adding confluence to that support, but also it makes it a very high probability target if we do end up getting accepted into this range. So there you go, right? POC, this does sit. POC golden pocket sits at about 67, 684 to 68.55. So, if we do get some kind of a significant pullback, this is going to be a big level to watch. I can't guarantee it's going to get hit, but again, within the volume profiles, just like yesterday, once you're above the POC, the value area high is your next high probability target. It gets hit. Once you get below the value area high, the high probability target is the POC. Lose the POC, high probability target of the value area low. Time and time again, right? I'm always going to see these as high probability targets. So if we do see that continuation down, POC sits right there. Mark that off on your chart. And then, of course, what we would like to see there, right, hopefully, if that red dot prints and we get that pullback, we can start to see things round back up. Money flow can hopefully stay in the green here, giving us an ability to get that continuation to the upside, right? As from a money flow perspective, right, this does still look potential, right, for the continuation of the uptrend, which is kind of exciting, right, because if we are going to do that, and don't get too excited, right, because we will go over the bearish case. But again, money flow, the binary thing here is money flow is in the green. So that's what I'm going to be looking for. If we continue down, POC sitting at about 68K is going to be the biggest level of support. And then, of course, right, if we end up losing this and we cannot reclaim the POC, we'll just simply look to go down towards the value area low where we have our next biggest level of support. I'm personally, value area low is always going to be a key level of support, but that line in the sand that we went over yesterday is going to be the 786 daily MPOC, 64,916 to 63,829. That is your last opportunity to bounce, right? If we have to go down there, this must hold. If this does not hold, I am very likely going to be looking for a new low on Bitcoin below 59.8. And it's just simple volume profile theory, right? It's very simple. We look for the longs at the value area low, and we take them. We look for the shorts above the value area high, and we take them. And at this point, right, if we do end up coming down, again, I am just going to hold this long position. If I stop out at break even, it's no big deal. I do hold a bunch of shorts or a portion of a bunch of my shorts still. I'll just look for another long as we come back down to the value area low. If we don't get the setup, right, or maybe it just gets stopped out, I will be looking for that bigger move down, right? So like really the last level of defense we have down here is $63,851. Underneath that, I have no support. Right? No visible technical support, right? There's just nothing. I guess there's no saying that you can't just bounce randomly, but there's really nothing underneath here, sitting below this daily MPOC, right? So resistance at the highs, support at the lows. And I know it can get confusing with all the, local levels and stuff, but at the end of the day, guys, the volume profiles are very simple. We shorted up here. It was a deviation above. We got the signals. Once we got below that value area high, we look for the full rotation. We hit the low. We take the long. We look for the full rotation. We take the short. We're looking for, hopefully, at least a push into the POC, and that's where money flow comes in, right? Because if that money flow is coming into the green, we do have to be aware that this is an opportunity to put in a higher low and a higher high. If not, very simple. We just look for those shorts to continue paying us out to the low. That's where we look for longs again. If we lose it, well, the shorts continue to absolutely print down to new lows, right? Beautifully positioned here. I'm like schlong times 3 right now. Multiple longs and multiple shorts. So, yeah, if we do, right, again, we kind of cover the moves to the downside. I've covered this so many times that I'm not really going to beat you over the head with it. But just very simple. Volume profile, value area high 70,400, POC 68K, value area low 65.7, right? And then of course you have to understand the other key levels we have down below there and the importance of that 786 being a structurally important level to put the higher low in at, right? I'd be okay with a little bit of a slip there, a little bit of a wick, right? But we got to close above that 786, and then, of course, you got to get back inside the range for a bigger move up. If we see something like this, the higher low would still technically be valid. If we can close higher time frame candles above the 786, we could still look for potentially overall higher highs. But again, lose it, yikes. So there you go. Now, if we do end up seeing the bullish case play out and this money flow does stay green, which looks good at this moment, right? Things change every day on the chart, right? So maybe this fakes into the red again. But if this money flow stays into the green, we can look for the POC, right? And then once we start coming up here, guys, I kind of want to talk about this because we've been mentioning, well, let me bring that back up, right? We've been mentioning this low volume gap. I'll pull up the VPVR so you can see it in all of its glory, right? There it is. Right, you got a little bit of a peak in volume here between about, I'd call it about $78,000 and $81,000. This is the next high time frame major target, right? If we wind up flying through this gap, that's the next big wall of resistance. Other than that, the only thing we really have above us, let me go ahead and hide the lower range, take off those local levels, take off the daily MPOCs. Once we get up here, right, there's really not a ton above us, right? The only thing we really have is the daily, right? We have a daily here that we did not hit just yet. So you have the daily up here. And then also when we looked at the liquidity heat maps yesterday, let me go ahead and pull this up on the 2-week time frame real quick. Bada boom, come on, load it up. You can see we do have a hotspot of liquidity up there as well, right? So, I will be interested in potential fake outs of that high. And then, like, the only other thing up here, guys, is really going to be, I think it's been in the anchored VWAP folder, but I'm just going to pull this anchored VWAP from our last significant lower high, which was at about $98,000. We do have this like major high time frame anchored VWAP, right? This, in my opinion, if you've watched the anchored VWAP tutorial on the channel, you will know I use this for two different things, right? We could use it to find sniper entries on the lower time frame. We could also use it to find, higher time frame changes in trend, right? So as long as you remain below this anchored VWAP, this is big resistance. We stay underneath this, the downtrend can continue, right? Push into it, lower low. Once we flip that, right, if we can get above here, of course we have the low volume gap. From a technical perspective, this anchored VWAP is kind of the last thing sitting above us. We have nothing above other than really this anchored VWAP. So once we get up there, maybe we could squeeze out the shorts, start to see a little bit of a liquidation wick, right? And then that's kind of the last thing above you. Once you can, and again, I will be interested in faking out that high for a potential short position, just like the local short I took here. Even if we can anticipate a move up, we can make money on those little drops to the downside. We don't need massive moves when we're, as a trader, you don't really need massive moves. You just need that volatility up and down. You can jump in, grab your bag, jump out. But that's, come up to take the high, right? If we're looking for higher lows and higher highs, whether we hold from here or we go down and we continue the higher low, higher high structure, right? And we take this out, the only thing above us is that anchored VWAP. Once you flip that, this really does open up the door to that $78,000 to $80,000 zone, which of course sits right here, right? Again, this is low volume. I wouldn't even say I guess this is kind of a major level. It's pulled from a major lower high, but it's not like we have massive monthly MPOCs here or anything like that. This is more of I would look at this as kind of a, I don't want to say a local level, but, it's not like a ton of confluence up here like we're going to run into the wall right here. It is resistance, right? But once you get above there, there's literally nothing. I would expect a very, very big move up towards about $78,000 to $80,000. And then once we can reclaim that, right, you have the 786 at about 84K, which again, it's a level. There's not a lot of confluence. The next big area of high time frame confluence really sits up towards, $87,000 to $90,000 for Bitcoin, right? Overall, giving you this low volume gap. You got little peaks here, right? But overall, high volume node. Price likes to stick to these prices, and it likes to move very quickly through the gaps. It likes to stick to these prices, and it likes to move very quickly through the gap. Does that make sense? I've covered this a million times, but just for anybody who's new here or watching the stream for the first time, this is what we're dealing with, right? And very nicely positioned for this, right? If we wind up coming up, I'm in the long. And then, of course, I kind of discussed my plan here if we do come back down to these lows. This does start to get a little bit shady. Oh, my God. And I will say, the one thing here, guys, I talked about this yesterday. It's kind of down here, if we had massive high time frame bull divs, I'd feel really confident about this, being a much higher probability move to the upside. We don't have any of those high time frame bull divs. And another thing that we're dealing with here is this 2-day VWAP, right? This 2-day VWAP has gotten a nice bounce, but all we would need, right, this VWAP, once this crosses over and gives us a red dot, this does look like it wants to print a high time frame bull div, which would indicate a break of the low. It's kind of alone in a way, but again, right, via the trading plan, you might say, well, what if that prints? What if that prints, right? Well, we're not gambling here, right? If we get down here and I get the confirmations, I'll take the trade with good risk management. If it stops out, right, again, we're very nicely hedged here for the shorts to continue paying out. But this does still remain true. If we do end up, whether we wind up, yeeting up from here, I would like to see that 4-hour red dot give us a bit more of a continuation. If that doesn't hold, right, and the value area low doesn't hold, at that point, right, this drop to the downside will likely be accompanied by that 2-day red dot. And once we get that, I will 100% be looking for high time frame bullish divergences here, which would be kind of nice to see to indicate a very strong bottom, right? Hopefully we can, if we do get the drop down, hopefully we can see this print. The momentum waves are set up very, very nicely for that. And it's kind of what puts this range in a very, every time we come up to the high of the range or the low of the range, people are like, are we going to break out? It's like, are we going to break out down? Are we going to break out? Are we going to break down? Are we going to break out? Right? This does not right? You don't have to have 100% certainty exactly if you're going to get the breakout from here, the breakdown from here. You don't need to know, right? We had an opportunity to break out here, and technically we're still holding the higher low, right? So it could just be part of that bigger move. It's just taking a little bit more time. But again, right, like I saw the confirmations up here. I took the trade. We made a bunch of money, right? I already got like $3,500 locked in. So if it stopped out, I would have taken a small loss on that trade. It just is what it is, right? You're not going to win every single trade. But right here, it's like, to be honest, like it's hard for me to say like there's an 80% probability of the move up, right? This is a prediction. I don't really care. You know, you can always have like a bias, right? But I'm not always going to trade off of that, right? Like at the end of the day, if I have like a strong bias of a move to the upside, if I think we're going to get a little pullback on a fake out of the range highs and come down and continue up, I'm still going to try to make money on that move down. So, yeah, it is a little bit – I don't want to say it's – I don't know. I don't want to say it's 50-50, but, again, like for me as a trader, like it doesn't really matter for me, right? I'm just going to continue to make money through the range. Once it breaks out, I'll have trades that will continue to play out. If it breaks down, I'll have trades that continue paying me out. That's the beautiful thing about the volume profiles, right? When you trade the volume profiles, price ranges 80% of the time, right? This is the bread and butter. Making money on these volume profile rotations, very high probability. They're essentially just failed auctions. And then, 80% were ranging. The rest of the time you're impulsing or trending. When this happens, it is very common, right, when you trade volume profiles that you're going to be holding a portion of the short from the high, right? So, we're making the money within here, and this is why it doesn't matter for me personally, right? Like, I don't care really if we break down or break up at this point because at least I'm holding longs now at this point. But, it's like, are we going to break down or break up? Well, it's like, hey, if I get a long position, if I get a long confirmation down here, I'm going to take the long. If money flow is in a big green wave trending out, this, to me, indicates that this trend range has a higher probability of moving down. But what if it doesn't, right? Well, that's fine because I'll be holding along from the low. Now, if I have a bias for more downside, maybe I'm a little more aggressive on taking the profits here at the POC of the range, right? Because it could be a lower high for an eventual breakdown. But at the end of the day, we bing-bong these ranges up and down, print money over time, and then once it ends up breaking down, right, chances are you can take your shorts at the value area high, TP1 at the POC, TP2 at the value area low. Typically, you could always wait for the value area low if you like. It's kind of personal preference. But at that point, right, you could be partially out of the trade or maybe even majority out of the trade and still hold this, right? If money flow's coming out, you have a bias for lower. This is a guaranteed winning trade from the high. You've already taken profits. Your stop loss could be sitting at break even. If it breaks down, you continue to absolutely print, right? If it comes up and stops you out, you get stopped out in profit and still make money. It's a very, very high profitable way to trade, I guess, is how you would say it. And it kind of puts you in a comfortable position, right? Because kind of here, I'm holding shorts, obviously, from much higher. But also, it's like, I'm also holding long from the low, right? So if this breaks, if we wind up breaking out, just pretend this is our range, like, cool, I'm paid. My short will stop out in profit. My other shorts will stop out in profit, and we'll make money on the long, right? This is like such a lower stress way to trade than trying to figure out, should I long here for a move to 80K? You could have that bias, right? But that's just not really how I would recommend trading, right? You want to trade the local plan and then kind of position and manage your trades based off your bias. So, but within our current range, I would say, there are arguments for a bigger move down. But, that's not, as traders, it's not our job to just gamble on what's going to happen first, right? I could have said here, oh my God, guys, we're breaking into the value, breaking into the gap. We're guaranteed going to rip, right? And then people come on the stream and be like, well, why'd you short? Well, it's like, I have the trade set up, right? If I could see money be made here, I'm going to take it every single time, right? I'm here to make money, not like gamble on predictions and hopefully be right. So there you go. Let's see. Did we print an SFP on the 1 hour earlier? Yes, we did. This is actually one thing that we were looking at in the premium. For the short position, we did have these kind of relative equal highs. We did get the wick above. We got the candle closure down below. And it's not just that, right? You get the wick above, the candle closure down below. You start to correct. You also had bearish divergences, right? Higher highs on your price action, lower highs on your momentum waves. And again, right, money flow is still in the green here. And, who knows, right? People always say, well, can we bounce here, right? Like, you could bounce from anywhere, right? Obviously, the high probability targets, right? What happens if we reject here? Can we reject here, Frankie? It's like, yeah, but I'm always going to be looking for the bigger target for the fill, the volume profile. So bearish divergences, you got the SFP. We also had the 15-minute money flow starting to come out. You also have the 4-hour red dot. potentially looking to print very soon. So, from a medium time frame perspective, if we are going to get a continuation down here, get accepted into the profile, I will be looking for that 4-hour red dot to print, specifically with that 15-minute money flow. 15-minute money flow indicates the local trend can continue down, right? And then the 4-hour red dot, although not a money flow crossover, right? I think this is where a lot of people get tripped up. 4-hour money flow indicates the 4-hour trend will likely continue up. In a 4-hour trend, you could come down here and get a bounce for a continuation up. On a 15-minute trend, right, this will look like a big trend on the 15-minute, but it's just the 15-minute time frame, right? So money flow indicates the trend, 15-minute, local trend to the downside, but when you look at that on the 4-hour, you're just looking at that pullback as a little ebb or flow to the downside for a higher low and a higher high. So there you go. I'm going to come into chat in just a second, but I wanted to cover kind of all the TA. For anybody rewatching the stream, they can kind of just watch the first, 35 minutes and kind of get all the sauce there. So very nice. We're at our target, guys. Long continued to pay. We'll see if we can get the continuation down here. And yeah, I think you guys know my plan. You know all the key levels. Watch that golden pocket here. It's the full fib from the low to the high. Now confluent with the POC. Again, another thing that we looked at yesterday. There we go, right? And technically does drag down to the 786. Whoops. But your real confluence there is on the POC. It's kind of the only confluence you have, to be honest. I don't believe you have a daily MPOC here or anything like that. Let's see, do we? Come on, MPOCs. Yeah, you don't have any MPOCs or anything. You really just have that golden pocket POC of the range, right? Not daily MPOC. So yeah, we'll see what happens here. We'll see if that 4-hour prints. Maybe we'll see it print live on stream, get the pullback. But I will say, like, hyper locally here, we'll watch this 15-minute green dot, right? As I said in the beginning of the stream, 15-minute green dot prints could be, again, what would I look at this as? Ebb or flow. Green dots indicate ebbs, flows, ebbs, flows, ebbs, flows, right? Money flow indicates the overall trend. So if we get that green dot to give us a push up, I will look at that as a little ebb or flow to the upside for a continuation down. We'll see. All right, let's see. Shout out to Rudy. Said, Frankie, do you ever get mad, like mad, like yell or threaten sometimes? Shout out to Rudy. I'll say this. I've made a lot of progress in my life. I'll say that. Of course I get mad. I'm a human being. Yes, I do get mad. Actually, I was mad earlier today because I needed to create another sub account to take another trade because I couldn't take multiple shorts on one of the exchanges. And I got mad. I was like, oh, my God, price is moving. I can't do this right now. Just let me enter a trade. But maybe there's a dark side of Frankie we don't know. Dun, dun, dun. No, shout out to Rudy. But I have made a lot of progress as a human. It's just much better to live a happy life and try to let things go. But, of course, I get mad. I'm a human being. I just got really a lot better at controlling my emotions, which trading did help me with. That's why part of the reason why I was a terrible trader in the beginning was because I reacted very emotionally off of things. Trade the plan the trade. That's right. Shout out to Rudy. Frankie after dark. Yeah, now I don't get mad after dark. We just get seductive after dark. Shout out to Mrs. Candles. Mrs. Candles has got a leak, guys. It's really bad. She's already deflating. I just blew her up. Come on. Come on. Come on. Stay up. Stay up. There. Okay. All right. Anyway, maybe I should be more gentle with her. Sorry, guys. Just got a body slam sometimes. Anyway, sorry, Mrs. Candles. Don't report me. Anyway. Shout out to Wick589. Said Frankie started streaming earlier specifically to miss me. Who knows? He knows I'm a busy man. Shout out to Wick589. I'll change my stream just for you, brother. Let me know. What is the prime stream time for Wick589? We would never try to avoid Wick589. One of the OSGs of the channel. See if she has a warranty. I don't know if the warranty covers body slamming. Why is she deflated? I do body slam her sometimes. Abuse. Shout out to Tony. It's not abuse, guys. It's not abuse. But yeah. All right. So, guys, that's what we're looking at here on Bitcoin. We'll watch this. I'll put an alert here below the low. And we'll see if that 15-minute green dot just wants to fake out here or if we're going to get a little pop to the upside before continuing down. Stream 24/7, that works for me. Shout out to Wick589. Do not threaten me with a good time. It's because she sat reverse on the toilet. Yeah, did anybody try that? I tried it last night. It low-key might be the move. It might be the move, guys. I don't know. It's very comfortable. It feels like everything kind of flows more smoothly. So if you have not sat reverse on the toilet, highly recommended. Highly recommended. All right, so yeah, we'll see what happens here, guys. I will take a quick look at the. We'll take a look at Solana and Ethereum. We'll pop in on Ethereum first here. Obviously, I'll just go over this briefly because the plan really hasn't changed here. Excuse me. Just like on Bitcoin, the next target on Ethereum was the value area high. High probability moves, guys. I don't know why volume profiles are not a more popular strategy. Value area low, get above the PLC, rotation into the high. Yesterday, we were streaming like around right here, ping-ponging around the lows, ping-ponging around above the POC. At the end of the day, we have the same signals on Ethereum that we did on Bitcoin. We have the 1-hour money flow crossing into the green. We have the 16-hour green dot, looking for the continuation up into the value area high, golden pocket retracement. Surprise, surprise. Surprise, surprise, mother effer. There it is. Somebody hold me. Shout out to Nick Dunn. I'll hold you, brother. I'll hold you. Or you could just sit reverse on the toilet and hold on to the tank. It's kind of a similar feeling. It's like a friendly hug while you're doing your business. With a bidet, can't recommend sitting reverse. Yo, I've never tried a bidet, guys. It's I don't know. It's kind of weird for me. It's a little bit weird. I don't know. People swear by them. People are like, you got to use a bidet. It's 100% the move. I don't know. I don't know. Like, what do you just get off the toilet wet? And I don't know. How do you do that? I don't know. Apparently, I mean, I guess it's normal in other countries, but I hate it when the seat is down and only one hand to make the deal. Oh man. Frankie, once I saw you using volume profiles, changed my entire strategy, bro. It's awesome. Yeah, shout out to Xander. Yeah, it's time and time again, right? It's not like there's a reason it always works, right? Or not always. Of course, you're not always going to get the full rotation, but obviously, it's like one of the highest probability strategies that you can use. I believe that's an actual statistic. Trading volume profiles and order flows, like one of the most profitable ways to trade. Like combining this with actual footprint charts is like one of the best ways to trade. And the reason that works is because you're not trading based off of arbitrary patterns or shapes on the chart or random lines. They are actually based off volume. And to me, right, when I started learning about volume profiles, it just made a ton of sense, right? And when you start understanding the idea of an auction, looking at the volume profiles as just inside the value area is considered fair price, right, or fair value, right? This is called the value area because this is where buyers and sellers agree that the fair value for the asset is within the profile, right? That's why when you see deviations below the low, it's literally looked at as cheap price, right? When we get down here, it's cheap. People buy it back into the fair value, and the fairest value is the POC. When it gets up here, it's simply expensive. Sell it back into the fair value, right? Price likes to seek fair value. It's like a magnet. And it works within the profile, right? Cheap, back into the fair value, back up to the high end of the value. Expensive, back into the value, the fairest price, back to the fill the full value, deviate below. Once you get back in here, you can look for the rotation through the value. Get above. Once you get back in here, you can look for the rotation of the fair value. I mean, time and time again, right? And then once you understand the confirmations to look for, you can understand where to start looking for those long positions, and then you just use that as your target, right? Well, hey, I have my money flow confirmations. I have my entry trigger confirmations. I take the long. Now I have a clear plan for that trade, right? I'm looking for it to go from cheap back into the fair value. This would probably be TP1. get back into the above the POC, look to go to the value area high. Now it's time to start looking for shorts. Now, of course, bias comes in here. You're not always going to get, obviously you're not going to range around forever. That's one of the most common questions I get within the volume profile kind of context is, you're not going to range around forever. How do you know if it's going to break out? This is where we use high time frame money flow, right? I won't go into the full thing, but that's how you could kind of do it. I believe we talk about this in some of the tutorials in the beginner series. So, but same thing on Ethereum, right? We've rotated to the high. Which remember the theory that I talked about here. We came into the high, 4-hour red dots looking to print, 15-minute money flow is crossing into the red. This, to me, says something like this, right? The biggest level of support underneath. Let's pull that. Let me actually extend this profile a bit because we're still within value. This might move the vol. No, not really. Did that yesterday, too. Did not move the profile. But if we pull our Fibonacci retracement, just like we did on Bitcoin, from the low to the high, a little similar to Bitcoin, right? But you don't have the confluence on your golden pocket. You have it on the 786, right? So I would say the most important level of support here, if we get a bigger pullback, is going to be sitting between 1982 and 1946. I was born in 1982, so that's a great year. I'm just kidding. I guess that might be believable. I'm not in my 40s, guys. But that would be the biggest level of support, right? I would not want to lose this. Once I lose this, I'm looking to go to the value area low and more specifically, take out this low, right? If we're going to look for this trend to continue, this is the lowest you want to go. Lose the 786. At the same time, you're losing the POC. And then you're looking at it like, oh, well, look at this. Bearish divergence is above the high. Acceptance into the range. If we lose the POC, where's the next high probability target? Value area low. But I would specifically like to see a break of this low and maybe a tap into that major 786, right? Sitting at 1885. And then just like on Bitcoin, this zone of support is going to be the biggest level to watch to see if we're going to be able to continue the overall move up, right? If we end up losing this daily MPOC 786, the line in the sand, just like on Bitcoin, will be sitting between these two levels, 1885 to 1864. Lose this. If we cannot bounce here, I'll be looking for a much bigger move down. So these are the two biggest interesting levels to me on Ethereum if the pullback continues. I'm not in an Ethereum trade, but this would be kind of this would be like an honorable mention. I don't like longing within the profile like this. I'd prefer to wait for the low, but sometimes you don't get that. So there you go. Very simple. Macro bottom 57 to 60K for BTC. From there, bounce and finally down to the 40s. Shout out to RGNR. Yeah, we'll see if we get that bigger pullback, right? If we get the bigger pullback and then a bigger bounce. I mean, we'll see, right? I don't know what price is going to look like there. That's a very, again, you kind of want to move from a prediction-based mindset to a probability-based mindset. At least if you want to make money, right? If you just want to like gamble and be like, I think Bitcoin's we talked about this yesterday, right? Like, in some cases, right, it's going to be much clearer. Up here, my bias was very strongly for a big move down, right? Very, very like high probability. But there were reasons to believe that. We had all the signs on the chart. We had all the signs on the money flow for this big capitulation down. Made tens of thousands of dollars on this move to the downside personally, right, on the shorts. This is why we're not afraid of bear markets in the CandleMafia. We make money whether price goes up or down. We do not need green candles to make money. Once you start viewing the market like that, the drops get less scary and they start to look like opportunities. Obviously, it still hurts if you're, round tripping your bags, but just naturally, if you become a trader and a technical analyst, you're going to have the better idea of where to get out of the market, right? Rather than just like kind of holding like, like people would say, here, are we going to, 200K or are we getting a big dump first? Here, it would be a much higher probability for me to say like, I'm bearish, right? Like we were bearish up here. People hated me. But down here, it's a little bit more fuzzy, right? We don't have, up here we had massive bearish divergences. We had massive, and again, it's, timing of the 4-year cycle, weekly money flow, massive bearish confirmations from a technical perspective. This is like a very clear mechanical move to the downside. Down here, it's not as clear. So I won't go over like the super long case because I've covered it so many times. We'll cover it in a few days. I don't want to keep saying it every day. But of course, I am not in the camp that like this is the start of the pain, right? We were bearish up here. People who were still bullish up here looking for 200K, 200K, 200K. They say that every time. And I try to be so explicit about that on the channel, right? Like 200K, 100K back in 2021. This is obviously not the start of the bear market. There were literally people up here saying, this guy's crazy. This is the start of the bull market. I don't know how you could possibly think that, right? Well, I guess I do, right? Retail always comes in late. So, that is, they get very emotional, right? We had a case here for a move up, but obviously the probabilities were much higher for the big move down. So let's come on down to the 15-minute here. What's going on? 15-minute green dot. It's trying. But yeah, once we get up there, right, like I don't know what price is going to look like if we get the bigger move up, right? Like fill the big low volume gap. Next major level of resistance, right? At this point, we'll see what happens, right? Because you got to let's pull up the bull market support band. I've covered this kind of scenario many a times. There's different ways that the market can put in a bottom, right? I'll just draw it out. 2017, we got a wiggle sideways. It's kind of embarrassing that I know exactly how this played out, right? Big capitulation, and then we put in a little daily bull div, right? And then we basically just went sideways before we started running back up into 2019. And then, of course, we had the pandemic, and then we went into the bull run, right? That's how 2017, the mark of the bottom there, I almost said mark of the beast. The mark of the bottom, the bull beast, was the daily bullish divergence. In 2022, it was so clean, right? We had the double top with the beautiful bearish divergence, just like we did this cycle. We get the big drop down, big capitulation, and then we eventually, I'll just show it on real price. All right, pull into 2017. There's the wiggle sideways. There's the dump. And then we printed this daily bullish divergence, which was very nice. This is the weekly time frame, but this was the daily bull div. We wiggled sideways, ran up into 2019, pandemic, bull run. Nice to see that daily bull div. It was a very nice bottom signal, right? 2015, and then, I'll go to 2022, right? 2022, double top, massive bearish divergences, exactly what we saw in this cycle. Got the big capitulation, put in this beautiful, beautiful, beautiful weekly bullish divergence. Nice bottom signal, right? Now, again, I'm not waiting to buy on that bottom signal, right? It's dollar cost average, weighted dollar cost averages. If we went lower, I would have continued to buy. But we saw that weekly bull div, bottom's very likely in, and then what happens? You flip that bull market support band, right? There's the bull div, very strong bottom. Once money flow starts coming up, anytime we have a bull div, all bull divs aren't created equal, but when you have a bullish divergence with money flow then coming up, it does indicate a very strong bottom. You flip the bull market support band, bull market commence, right? 2017, you had the daily bull div. I won't go down to the daily, but it was right here, right? You have the daily bull div. You get up, you flip the bull market support band, essentially bull market, right? This was a black swan event. So likely we would have either wiggled sideways or started the bull market earlier. Can't predict these things really. But at the end of the day, you flip the bull market support band, bottoms in. And that daily bull div was the sign. 2015, right? This is all, so those are very clean. You have a clean bottom signal. It's kind of not easy to see, but it gives you a more confident bottom signal, right? In 2015, you get the capitulation. We didn't have any bull divs. We kind of wiggled sideways, flipped the bull market support band, and then there you go, right? And this is all in line with the weekly money flow, right? Once the weekly money flow crosses green, every single time, 100% of the time, the bottom has been in. Money flow crosses green, bottom's in. Money flow crosses green, bottoms in. Money flow crosses green right here. You can't see it, but it was a fake out. But at the end of the day, the first crossover, bottoms in. Right? So those are kind of some of the things I'll be looking at. If we don't get the bull div, as I've said many a times, I prefer at least a daily or 2-day high time frame bull divs. That would be with money flow coming up. Right? That would be a strong sign that the bottom is in. But we don't need to have that, right, necessarily. It could play out like 2015, right, where you just get the capitulation, the bottom's in, you wiggle sideways. But one thing I'll be looking at is that weekly money flow, right? So we'll see. It takes a long time to move around. But again, not waiting for that to buy, right, personally. If we get that, well, great. We have more opportunity to buy. And then, of course, once we lose 47K, we could talk about maybe a move down to 30K. But that's not my base case right now. So there you go, right? Those are some of the things I'll be looking for. But at the end of the day, hashtag bottom watch 2026. I covered this yesterday. Anytime you get that big capitulation on a weekly money flow crossover, anytime you get the RSI on the weekly oversold, it is always indicated that it is much better. It doesn't always indicate the bottom's in, but it indicates that it's much better, right? Anybody who looks at the oversold weekly or the money flow crossing over into the red on the weekly as the start of the bear market have been late to buy, right? Yes, the bottom is not in. You go one more low, right? But look at this. You missed the low, or whatever. You had to endure another 18% correction. Bitcoin can do that in a day, right? Here, another 21%, right? So after already getting a massive drop to the downside, in all of these cases, most of the pain was behind you. It didn't mean Bitcoin didn't go lower, but most of the pain was behind you, and you were better off looking for a bottom, even here, oversold weekly. In this case, the bottom was in, but right, accumulation. We're in the exact same situation, right? So same situation, better off looking. Again, doesn't mean price can't go lower, right? But better off looking for accumulation for an eventual move up, right? Every time it has been late, not early, right? Where's the bull market? Where's the bear market wind up coming in? It comes in on weekly bearish divergences, right? Weekly bearish divergences. Exactly what we looked for here. In 2017, you didn't get the weekly bear divs, but again, you're overbought. So there you go. Just what I look at, right? This could all be wrong. Bitcoin can go to zero. You know, trade, not financial advice. Trade and invest at your own risk. Let's see. Oh, we got a super chat. Yo, shout out to Crypto Phase. Let's go. Shout out to Crypto Phase. Thank you for the super chat, bro. Said, Frankie, is that you? Hey, buddy, long time no see. Choppy times ahead. Ahoy. Shout out to Crypto Phase. Let's go. Thank you for hanging out, bro. What are you thinking, bro? You think we're close to the bottom, or you think we're just getting started? Are we going to 30K? What are you doing, bro? Let us know. Shout out to Crypto Phase, the GOAT, in the chat. Let's get it. Shout out to Crypto Phase. Frankie spitting facts. Let's go. And shout out to Crypto Phase for Market Cypher. Crypto Phase changed a lot of people's lives with Market Cypher. When I found Market Cypher, guys, Market Cypher literally helped me personally nail the bottom here. And again, it's not waiting for I didn't buy all my bags right here. But I looked at history, I looked how the weekly money flow played out, and I did exactly what I just did, right? What happened in the past? And again, it's 100% hit rate. Once that weekly money flow crosses over, you get a big capitulation down. It is usually not the start of a massive trend, right? It is usually time to start looking for accumulation. It's exactly what I did last cycle, talking about it on the channel. This is where I DCA'd in. And, you know, again, maybe if it didn't play out, I'd be saying something different, but it did, right? I ended up getting a very, very beautiful entry price, average entry price for a massive bull run, right? And it's very simple to look at. Just go on Market Cypher B and mark off those weekly money flow crossovers. That's what I did here, right? Made a bunch of money. Frankie, wait till you see what I got next, bro. We got something new coming ASAP. Shout out to Crypto Face. Yo, let's go, bro. Let's go. Oh, man. Now I'm going to lose sleep. Shout out to Crypto Face. If it's anything close to Market Cypher B, good Lord. Overpowered. Market Cypher is overpowered. Honestly, guys, you know, Market Cypher really did change the way that I trade. And one of the big things I love about Market Cypher, separate from the RSI, right? You can find divergences on many different indicators. The reason I don't ever have the RSI up and the reason I have Market Cypher B up is because when you look at these VWAPs, right, it can help you anticipate when that wave is going to turn, right? On the RSI, it's kind of like, I don't know, it feels naked, right? You just don't have as much information. Like, you could look for very similar signals, right? Higher highs, lower highs, right? So you have the bearish divergence on Market Cypher and the RSI. But the thing that I love here is that when you see these VWAPs starting to roll, right, you can anticipate, hey, this is probably going to be the top of that wave, right? So it's like the anticipation of seeing that, like, hey, this red dot prints, this could be a significant top on the momentum wave, right? The RSI gives you none of that information. And the big thing the RSI does not have is the money flow, indicating the continuation of the trend. It works on the 5-minute, the 15-minute, 20-minute, the 40-minute, whatever you want to look at. The weekly, money flow crosses green. What do you anticipate? You anticipate lackluster pullbacks, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, right? Money flow gives you the early signal. It's directional, right? You could start to see this money flow aggressively trending out. You can go down to the lower time frames. 2 days already crossed red. This is exactly how we anticipated this to likely be the top. 2-day trend is likely to give you a large trend to the downside. And if we see this, that weekly money flow was already looking weak. If this money flow goes weak, guess what that's indicated every single time? Bear market. It's goated. Shout out to Crypto Face, also goated. Let's see. Man, I want to know what they have in the works now. Said, and you can sell it and make some bread. Interesting. Now I'm totally lost. Now I have no idea what to expect. Shout out to Crypto Face. Man, now I'm antsy. Shout out to Crypto Face, guys. Show Crypto Face some love in the chat. Any market cipher discounts? Sub just ran out. If you use our link, you'll get a discount. I think it's Tony D will let you know the exact amount. But yeah, if you use our link, you'll get a discount. Shout out to Michael. Says, hey, I don't know if you remember, we talked 2 days ago. Shout out to Michael. He did not talk to me, brother. Be careful of the scammers out there. You definitely did not talk to me. I will never ask you for money. I will never DM you and tell you how to trade. I will never trade for you. Be careful, guys. The scammers are absolutely insane. All right, let's see here. 15-minute green dot. All right, we got a little push to the upside there. Kind of got swallowed a little bit. But there you go, right? That green dot, even the VWAP coming up, makes you anticipate what? Little ever flow up. We'll see what happens here. But money flow comes out, indicating a high probability of the continuation of the trend. Key resistance right now is going to be value area high at 70,445. Keep an eye here. Should we pull up the 1-second chart? Oh, my God, it's dumping. I asked if you guys go after scammers. Shout out to Michael. We try. It's impossible. You pluck one weed and 1,000 more grow. It's impossible. We try our best to keep the mafia informed. But, of course, like just try to, like, if someone DMs you and says, I'll make you $1 million in a week or something, give me your money, I'll trade for you. I mean, I guess maybe there's legit firms that will do that, but I do not do that. All right, Frankie, I'm out of here. You sound good, and can't wait to show you guys what we got. Shout out to Crypto Face. Let's get it, brother. I'm excited, too. Let's get it. If it's anything close to Market Cipher B, bro, you might change the game again. Shout out to Crypto Face. Have a great day, bro, and we'll see you soon. I'll try to hop into one of your streams. But, yeah, guys, be careful with the scammers. There's not a lot we can do, right? Like, even the scam comments, guys. We go in there and we pluck one out, 70 more show up. We pluck them out, 70 more show up. We even ban the words that they use, so they just can't. So the comments don't show up, and then they just come out with another scam coin. It's impossible. You have to be careful. If it's too good to be true, it probably is, right? No, this is in the Pine Network and ecosystem they have within the app. I got scammed off there. I don't even know what that is. Crypto Face in the chat, that's legendary. Yeah, it's super legendary. Crypto Face is the GOAT. We dump more from here. Well, 1 second chart, absolutely nuking. But no, yeah, I kind of just talked about this. We'll see. 15-minute green dot confirmed. You're probably going to get the 30-minute. Yeah, 24 and 30-minute also. But look at this, right? Again, kind of how I look at this. Money flow is coming out on the 30-minute. It's coming out on the 24-minute, which is just a way that I kind of front run the 30-minute. Starting to cross over to the red on the 24-minute, starting to come out on the 30-minute. So what does that mean, right? What is the 1/16th or 30-minute is 1/16th essentially of the 8-hour, right? This is not as close to setting up as the 4-hour 15-minute, but if we end up, right, maybe we bing bong around a little bit, right? We get the green dots again. Like, what would I expect here? That green dot prints, like, very simply, money flow equals trend. So what would I expect here? I would expect the downtrend to continue. Now, obviously, it doesn't mean when the money flow crosses over, enter a trade and it nukes to zero, right? That's not what it means, right? Because if I have this VWAP coming up, what does the VWAP and the green dots indicate? It indicates the ups, the downs, the ups, the downs, the ups, the downs, the ups, the downs within the trend. So if I have money flow coming out indicating a downtrend and I have green dots looking to print, I would expect this green dot to give me an ebb flow to the upside for a lower high and a lower low locally, right? For continuing the downtrend. Money flow comes out, you're anticipating the downtrend. That doesn't mean that you're not going to get local bounces within that. Now, also, nothing in trading, nothing in TA is going to be 100%, right? Sometimes you'll get a fake out, right? That is why risk management is the most important thing. But this really helps you understand, like, it's like the easiest way to understand the market. And you could just very simply mark it out, right? You could just hide all your TA and go back test this, right? You got to put some work in, right? You're never just going to be able to get something and just instantly start printing money. You have to put the work in. You know, nothing worthwhile, especially like trading, something as lucrative as trading. If you want to make thousands of dollars clicking a button on a computer, it's not just going to be, you know, open the chart, click buy or sell, make money, right? Like, there's more to it, obviously. But just mark it out, right? Like, this uptrend, money flow crosses green. What am I anticipating here? I'm anticipating the continuation of an uptrend. Does price never go down again? Yes, it does, right? You go up. Oh, my God, what am I anticipating? I'm anticipating the continuation of the uptrend. Am I going to long right here? Probably not, right? What am I going to do? I have to have a plan. Money flow in the 30 minutes in the green. I expect the continuation of the uptrend, which is obviously the case. But it doesn't mean that that's not a trade setup, right? You would have to find local support, and then your bias, right, your trading plan is I'm looking for lackluster pullbacks for higher lows and higher highs. Even here, money flows in the green. Higher low, higher high. Money flows in the green. Higher low, higher high. So you have to have some kind of a trading plan. You don't just want to FOMO, oh my God, money flows green, long here. You could do that, right? But you have to understand that, you're going to get pullbacks. So what happens? There's your money flow crossover. Trend is going to go up. Go up, trend, right? Trend continuation up. That's your plan. I'm looking for lackluster pullbacks, higher lows, higher highs. Now let's mark off the red and the green dots. Mark off green dot's right on this line, so I won't mark it out, right? Here's a red dot. Here's a green dot. Here's a red dot. Here's a red dot. Here's a green dot. Here's a green dot. Gets a little choppy here. Again, it's not going to be, if it was as simple as just long in money flow or long in red dots, again, there's going to be, the market's very nuanced, right? But if we just zoom in here, right, I'll even go down to a lower time frame. These lines are marking out 30-minute green dots, right? Or I'm not going to be able to know which ones are red dots or green dots. This is the red dot continuation down, right? And you know what? I'll stay on the 30 minutes so it's not confusing. Overall, right? And it's, in my opinion, very important to look at the VWAP. Look at this. VWAP starts peaking out. Maybe, right? Your thought here is like, oh, maybe this is going to roll back over and print a red dot, right? Roll over. Price rolls over, right? Then you have your VWAP coming up, looking to print a green dot. Maybe you can get a little ebb or flow to the upside. Then your next red dot prints. VWAP crosses the zero line to the downside. That's where your red dots print. Probably going to get an ebb or flow to the downside. Green dot prints, ebb or flow to the upside. Red dot prints, ebb or flow to the downside. Green dot prints, ebb or flow to the upside, right? So that's how I view the market, right? So, I mean, obviously I'm long from the low, but if I had to enter a trade here, right, if I was like, oh, let me see if I can find an entry here, and sometimes you're not going to get it, right? Sometimes you'll front run your support, but I would at least wait. Well, this is perfect, right? Money flow cross green. I'm expecting the trend to continue up, right? What would I wait for here, right? Well, let's say I'm looking at the price right here. I missed the green dot, right? So this is eventually going to roll back over to put in a higher low. How do I know if that's going to happen? I watch this VWAP, right? Price comes up, VWAP rolls over. Once it crosses over the 0 line and prints a red dot, this is where I'm saying this could be the ebb or flow to the downside. And because my bias is looking for higher lows and higher highs, I want to find the highest probability area to put a higher low in, at. Where is that always? Usually, or I don't want to say always, right? But usually, I'm looking at the local golden pocket 786. So do I want a long here as price is going up? You could, right? If you have your stop loss low enough, you still could, right? But if I wanted to get a sniper entry, I'd say, hey, a red dot is incoming. Let me see if that red dot pulls me back. If it pulls back in here, now I am interested in a long here. And that's how you get into the trades at the lows and not at the highs. Now, could you enter here and just have your stop loss lower and ride it? Sure, right? But for me personally, I like to get the sniper entries. That's how I do it, right? Free sauce. And that's how we use Market Cipher to kind of, decipher it. No pun intended. Hopefully that makes sense. All right. And we can see it happening live here. Green dot prints, ebb or flow to the upside. Money flow is coming out. I would anticipate this to be lower high, lower low. What are some of the key levels I would look at here? Well, I'll pull my Fibonacci retracements. Now, I'm not going to pull every micro retracement, but like the significant ones would be right here. And then you have your full retracement right here. All right, so we'll see. There's no guarantee. Again, nothing's a guarantee. Sometimes you'll front run. Like here, you could have front run the higher low, right? You could have front run the actual Fibonacci retracement here. I bet you front ran it, right? So you're not always going to get that full retracement that you're looking for, but you could always pull your local retracements. You even front ran that one. The only other place I would look is like this one, which didn't really hold well. So again, there's going to be nuances. It's not always going to be perfect. If it was, everybody would be a trader making bazillions of dollars, right? You have to put the work in. You have to have the experience. You have to have time in the market, right? And that's why a lot of times, for me, right, there's like I call it like market. You get a lot of like market. You start to build up your like market discretion, right? It's like, I've seen this play out. I don't really like the way this move looks. I don't really like the way this VWAP looks. I don't really like the way these momentum waves look. But you build that through experience, seeing things not play out, right? I didn't get to skip the hard part of trading, right? Like I was waiting for the pullbacks every time into the full Fibonacci retracement and getting front ran every time. And then I had to learn that and then be like, oh, well, maybe we pulled into some local fibs. But the whole point there is that you're building a trading plan, right? I have a plan here. I'm not just longing because there's a green candle. I'm understanding that I have a plan. If this red dot prints, I'm probably going to get a pullback. If I get a pullback to this golden pocket, right, I'll go into bar replay mode, right? Everybody wants to just like jump the gun, hit the button, right? Oh, my God, we're long. I'm going to long it. I'm going to long it. It's a green candle. We're pumping. Oh, my God, long. Right? For me, I like to have a plan and a setup. My plan here would be, if we come into this level, I will look for a local entry, for a higher low, and a higher high. So if I were to draw this out, right, this is kind of what I do in the premium Discord. If we pull in here, this is my key level of support, and then I'll look for a potential higher low and a higher high. I'm not rushing in here, entering late. Just like on a 4-hour time frame, if we get a big move up, right, I'm not going to FOMO in at the top. The only thing I can look for is either wait for a pullback for a long, or if money flow is not crossing into the green and it's crossing into the red, maybe I take the short in anticipation of a downtrend, right? But here, I find this, I get on the chart, I go, okay, where can I hop in? I'm not going to hop in here. I'm too late, right? I'll sit on my hands and wait. Okay, look, the red dot printed. Now I'm starting to get the move down. Let's see if we can push into the support. Obviously, we know what happens here, right? Push into the support. Oh, look at that. Higher low, higher high, right? That's how you that's like a really quick way to, try to find a trade setup, right? You have to have a plan. You don't just want to jump in, hit long or short. Then you'll be sitting here like, I longed and now I'm wrecked. And then what are you going to do, right? You're going to be like, oh my God, I got liquidated. I got stopped out. I got closed the trade because I got scared. And then price just continues in the way you thought it was going to. You just have to have a plan. Take a little bit of planning. That's all. And it's just like the same thing. Did I FOMO long here? No. Why? Well, you have money flow coming out. You have, the confirmations to take the short. You're above the value area high, right? And the example I just talked about was not even in the context of a value area. It's a different type of setup. But you look here, right? Are we still on the 30-minute? Yeah, we're on the 15-minute. Right, look at the 30-minute money flow. Starts to come out. What am I anticipating? I'm anticipating lower highs, lower lows. Break of structure to the downside. Where's your lower high likely come in at? It comes in on your golden pocket 786. Am I chasing the short down here? No. I'm waiting for that next green dot, and then I stick with my plan. This is the place where I'd be interested. This isn't exactly how I took this trade, but just using this price action. Right? I'm looking at this as this is my resistance. If I get a bounce into this level, I'll be interested in a high, low, lower high, lower low. Lackluster bounce to the upside, lower high, lower low. Why is that? Well, money flow is trending to the downside, right? Then it crosses red, the trend continues down, and we absolutely slapped that short and made some money. I did not FOMO in here and get wrecked. I wait for the move up. Right? Again, that's not how I entered the trade, but if I were in that situation, I entered it earlier. But if I was in that situation, I would not FOMO in there. Right? And overall, am I FOMOing into a long here on a higher time frame? We just got a massive pump. I am never looking for longs up here. I can only look for shorts. You're pushing into resistance. You've already missed the move. If I'm not long from down here, I'm not chasing the long there. If I wanted to find a long, right? If I had Market Cipher B's context telling me that we can continue up, which I actually had a plan for this. I didn't take the trade because we didn't get the confirmation. But where would I look? For a long entry here, right? Well, you could pull your Fibonacci retracements and say, well, hey, maybe we come into the value area high golden pocket. This would be support, range high retest, golden pocket for a potential higher low. Would I enter the long here? No. Doesn't mean I have to short it, right? But if I were just only interested in a long, I would not enter it here. I would wait for a pullback and then wait to push into the support level and then look for the bigger, higher high. Would that be the case here? No. Look at your 1 hour money flow. 1 hour money flow comes out, you're looking for the continuation down, right? You're not going to be looking for a long. So there you go. A little bit of sauce. A little bit of special sauce for the Mafia there. How did you discover Market Cipher? Shout out to Passerby. Shout out to CryptoFace. Found Market Cipher from CryptoFace. He made it. Let's see. How are your settings on Market Cipher? I just use the default settings. I don't have any the only thing I change here are the colors. I don't have any. All my actual settings are all default. So there you go. Shout out to Hugh said volume profiles seem too good to be true. Are they a scam? Shout out to volume profiles. Not for me. Again, the scam would be to say that all you do is wait till you go into the value area high and short. That'll work sometimes, right? But if you don't understand how to find entry triggers, again, you have to know how to trade, right? Which obviously, if you want to learn for free, we teach it here every day. But just short every value area high, right? Obviously, it's not always going to play out, right? But I'll never tell anybody that. It's when you have a setup, right? Sometimes you're looking for a big breakout, right? Like in the case of this volume profile, I know Hugh's joking, but just to be clear, right? You're eventually going to lose the volume profile, right? If the market ranged 100% of the time, maybe you could just set up a bot to trade that. But of course, right, sometimes you're going to get, even here, right, you get the move down, you get bullish divergences, you get the bounce, right? But even here, you didn't get to the POC. You just rolled right back over. But again, maybe I took that trade. I don't remember. I think I might have taken that trade. But we're holding the short from the high, right? This is where I made a ton of money. But there's a bias there, right? Why do we anticipate that continuation of the downtrend? Again, weekly money flow about to cross over into the red, right? So I'm not looking for this to be a higher low and a higher high. I'm looking for this to be a lower high and a lower low. So where a lot of people got caught off sides here. They're like, higher low. How could you be bearish? That's a higher low. You don't understand market structure. I'm like, yeah, you're right. You're right. I have no idea what market structure is. And then they want higher highs, and what happens? It rolls over, right? Trend was very clearly going to continue down. When money flow looks like this, you're not looking for a high, a low, a high, a higher low, and a higher high, right? You're looking for a low, a high, a higher low. Sure, this is a higher low, right? But not all higher lows are created equal. If money flow is coming out like this, you're very likely to continue the trend to the downside, which is why we shorted 98K. This could be the lower high before the big move. It was. I'm still holding a portion on that trade. So there you go. Obviously, there's more nuance to it. But yeah, volume profiles are scams that pay you. Shout out to Will Do, says, is Market Cipher paid? Yeah, it is a paid indicator. It will pay. You'll make your fee back. I don't know. I don't want to make any promises, right? Because if you don't know how to use it, you have no experience, right? Anything you get, right? Just to be like fully transparent here, you're not just going to get Market Cipher and you're still going to make mistakes, right? Like understanding how the market moves is not the thing that is alone going to make you money in trading, right? You still have to understand the psychology of it. You still have to, very likely if you get into trading, you're not just going to get an indicator and you're going to treat it like a buy and sell signal and make a ton of money. It took me a long time to understand how to use Market Cipher, right? There was a time where I just longed money flow crossovers into the green, right? And it worked sometimes, but oftentimes it would fake out, right? I'd say, hey, money flow crossed into the green, right? And then back in the day, I would just get liquidated here because I'd be on like 1,000x leverage, no stop loss, right? But eventually I'd be like, oh my God, I was right. And then I'd lose the trade. You have to understand the context of the market. There's nothing in the world that you can find that's just you're gonna get into trading, and then the day you get it, you're just gonna start printing money. Again, if it was that easy, everybody would do it. So you still have to understand the context. There's no way around that. I didn't get to skip that. I just already went through my hard time and got out of it, right? I stuck through it. I didn't give up. Shout out to Chatmaster, said, plan the scam, ask my mum. She'll scam you real good. Shout out to Chatmaster. Shout out to Izzy. There you go. My goal is to make the fee from trading to get Market Cipher. It's a nice way to do it. Yeah, shout out to New Earth Guardian, says all forms of volume analysis works. The market moves on volume. Yeah, absolutely. That's why it's so high probability. Yeah, emotion changes on real trading versus paper, 100%. I always tell people, right, like you could start on a demo account, get your feet wet, understand like all the exchanges we use offer demo trading. Blowfin, I think WeX has it. I know Femex has it. Get your feet wet, right? Understand what all the buttons do, see how your leverage affects things, play around with it, right? But at the end of the day, I always say this, right? An amazing technical analyst does not always equal an amazing trader, right? You can be really good about, I sat in that kind of level for a long time. Like I was really good about understanding where the market was going to go. And it ain't gambling if you know where the market's going to go. But no, I'd be really good about understanding that we're going to get a bounce here, right? But then eventually I would just get greedy and I would hold the long because I wanted to make more money. I knew there was resistance here. I should have taken profit, but I just didn't because I got greedy up there. And then eventually I'd get stopped out, consistently losing money, right? That's not a trade setup issue. That was a market psychology and trade management issue. That's stuff that you can't be taught, right? You could be taught on how to do it correctly, but no one can force you to do that, right? No one can force you to follow the plan. Your personal trainer can't force you to go to the gym. It's the same thing. It's truly amazing how consistent volume profiles are. Yeah. Once I started combining the volume profiles with Market Cipher, it just became overpowered. Because again, it's like that's how I identify when a volume profile might not be likely to fill, right? Again, it's like, yes, deviate below the low, back to the POC, back to the high. Deviate the high, back in, you front ran the POC. Deviate the high, back to the POC, back to the low. Super high probability. But two things here. This POC moves because I'm pulling it differently. But like right here, we did not get the move down to the POC. But what were we looking for here, actually? With the profile we were looking at had the POC up here. But when we came down here, we actually were not looking for a full rotation of this profile. We were actually looking for a higher low We longed 85K, and we were looking for the value area low to hold, move into the POC, go into the high, right? And I think we actually shorted the high as well. But we were looking at this POC as a key level, right, to potentially, we had other levels in here as well. We were looking for potential higher lows and higher highs. So in this case, we would look at the price and say there might not be a high probability of actually filling this profile. It's not going to be 100%, but once you start looking at market cipher, I don't remember exactly the time frame, but I believe we had like high time frame money flow crossing into the green. There it is, right? I think it was the daily was crossing green as well, right? Daily money flow crossed into the green. Yes, right? You can't just look at one thing alone. Here, you would deviate above the high, and you would say, hey, this is a high probability volume profile trade from the value area high to the value area low, right? But if you're not looking at market cipher, you're somewhat trading blind. Because in this case, what happens? Money flow is crossing into the green. What does that mean? That means you are very high probability of a higher low and a higher high, right? And then the POC would be key support. If you hold it, you can look for the higher high. We held a portion of the long, right? Took profit here, held a portion of it to ride it up to 98K. So this is, when you're just looking at the volume profile naked, you're like, what happened? We didn't go to the value area low. Once you reveal market cipher, you're like, oh, money flow was in the green. There was a high probability of a higher low and a higher high. So once you combine them, that's where you could kind of start to either avoid the fake outs or adjust your trading plan, understanding if this is likely to get the full fill or not, right? Why was this likely to get the full fill from the low to the high? Well, money flow was coming up, all right? So you hold that for the POC value area high. So there you go. And again, you can't just watch like one live stream, become an expert trader, right? It takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of experience. But this is the best free trading education you'll ever get. Shout out to Olger, says, does Market Cipher have a tutorial when you buy it? I do believe they have tutorials on their website. I also have a ton of tutorials on the in the beginner series and on my channel in general. Shout out to your comrade, said, Frankie, big question. What about your TA for the last 3 to 4 years? Do you feel is working differently, or do you need to find any updates? Not really. I mean, your strategy will change in different market conditions. So again, right, like if you're in a bear market, right, or maybe entering a bear market, you might be a little bit more aggressive, right, with your shorts above the value area high. When you're in a bull market, I mean, within the volume profile, it doesn't really change. But, yeah, I mean, like your trading plan and your trading strategies will adjust slightly in different market conditions, right? In a bear market, I'm going to be more greedy with shorts, more conservative with longs. Doesn't mean I won't take longs in a bear market, right? I took this long here. We also shorted 98K, but I was conservative with this long. I was greedy with this long, with this short, right? So, yeah, it'll change over time, but like I've never really had a situation. And again, the reason there's no situation where the volume profile like is just going to not work is because it's based off volume. Volume is price, right? It's not just like, I guess some strategies you might like something might stop working. And you have to kind of adjust to that. But for me, like I only really adjust my trading strategies or plans based on the context, right? If I'm in a massively high time frame bearish trend, I'm going to be a little bit more greedy with those shorts. Frankie kind of is a tutorial. Yeah, shout out to Ogre. This rewatch the stream. There's your Market Cipher B tutorial. Shout out to Kareem, said literally the best free trading education. That's what we do every day here, guys. So smash that like button. Easiest free way to support the channel. Yeah, shout out to 25 said once I started using volume profiles, I became profitable. We don't shield them for no reason, that's for sure. Shout out to you, brother. Happy to hear that, by the way. I'm still a recovering greedy trading addict. Shout out to Izzy. It's all right, brother. I've been there. And I still make mistakes too, guys. I go on tilt sometimes. I mess up sometimes. All right, I'm never going to come up here and I'm the best trader on earth, guys. I never made a mistake. I just got into trading, instantly started making tons of money. I make mistakes as well, right? What about the possible green dot on the 2-week? Yeah, I mean, this would facilitate a significant bounce from this major level of support, right? And we covered this on the way down. We have come in. Let me just hide these because I do want to keep these local levels. We have come down to major support, right? This volume profile is major support. We looked at this in comparison to MicroStrategy, right? MicroStrategy came down here first. It had the upper profile. I'll just pull it, right? Auction market theory is the basis of kind of volume profiles, right? You have your upper value area. Once you get rejected out of this value area, price is always seeking fair value. On the chart right now, there are two areas of fair value. There's one here and one here. When you impulse out of one range, price very often, almost always, seeks fair value, right? Where's the next fair value? It's right down here. So once you lose this in impulse, price is very likely to gravitate towards that next volume profile. And just like magic, I did not move this. I did not draw this after the fact. As a matter of fact, we covered this to the point where I think people were sick of hearing it because not only was it very repetitive as we bing-bonged around here forever, but also not a lot of people wanted to hear that this was likely incoming. But this is the same profile we looked at. This volume profile was pulled on the way up, right? So this has been on here since 2024. But we know once we lose this profile, an impulse down, indicated, I'll go into bar replay mode to show this. Indicated by your high time frame money flow crossing into the red for the first time since basically the bear market. This is a big indication that the trend is going to continue down. When I look at this, if I want price to make a higher low and a massive higher high, I want to see the opposite of this. This is money leaving the asset. So again, that's kind of how you can identify if you're going to get, again, the profiles aren't going to print in bar replay mode. But if I'm thinking, am I going to lose this range or am I looking for a higher low and a massive higher high? Never. Am I ever going to look for a higher low and a higher high? People had a hard time understanding that here. They're like, but this is a higher low. Don't you get it? Yes, it's a higher low. But this is not created the equal to a higher low when money flow is in the red coming up. That's what I would want to see for a massive higher high. Covered this live on the price action. This is not hindsight analysis. This is just a recap of what we looked for here. Why did I and then what do we say? If we lose this range and impulse out, where's price going to go? It's going to gravitate towards fair value. Break below the value area high, go to the POC. Lose the POC, go to the value area low. That's your key support. Money flow. Weekly money flow crossing into the red. This never indicates a higher low and a higher high. What ends up happening? I'll go down to, I'll come off bar replay mode, right? We'll zoom into a lower time frame. What ends up happening? We get the big capitulation down. Tiny support on your value area high. Come even lower. Next likely place for price to go once you get accepted is the POC. You get a little reaction. Once you lose the POC, value area low. Look at that. Dude. Right on the value area low. Creepy. That's how high probability the volume profiles are. So there you go. When it comes to the 2-week green dot, so my point is, this is massive support, right? Not impossible. Everyone gets super bearish to get some kind of a big move up. And again, another thing that was in line with that was the visible range volume profile. And I don't say this to brag. I don't say this to say, look at me, I'm the best. I show this to educate. You can do this too. Even here, looking to capitulate out of here, right? Well, hey, we're looking to go down to this previous area of value. Well, guess what? Once we lose these lows, not only will we look to come down here, but it would very likely be another thing we looked at live on the price action was this is a huge low volume gap, meaning once we break in here, there's nothing but air underneath you, indicating it would be a very aggressive fast move to the downside. Perfect environment for a bear market. Now we're at support, right? My shorts were from all up here, right? Obviously, I'm holding the local shorts, but all my big shorts were from up here, right? I'm not looking for massive swing shorts once we come down here. You're too late to the move. So when I look at this, it would, in my opinion, a lot of people would get very mad if we end up getting a big move back up. And again, we covered this low volume gap earlier in the stream and how we can see a fast move to the upside if we're able to break out of this value. It's the same thing. Impulse out of here, hold above support, impulse out. Not a lot of resistance above you. We have some of those local levels that we talked about earlier, but for the most part, this high volume node sits up towards about 87K. People would hate this rally like crazy. So what would also assist you with a massive move up there? That 2-week green dot would look dang nice. The only thing I'm trying to figure out, right, and again, I don't have all the answers, but it's just, is it going to look, what I'm looking for currently, right, there are things that if they come up, right, if we see the information, I won't be looking for it until the information happens, right, I have no reason to think this now. There is a situation where we can maybe look down towards 30K. That is not my base case. If it comes in and there's a reason to look for it, I will. But my thought process right now is like, are we going to get the squeeze sooner than later? Or are we going to go down and print that div first? I prefer to see the div because it's a little easier. It's a better confirmation. But we do not need that, right? I'm aware of that. So that's why I say I don't ever wait for, I'm looking for this target. I'm not buying until we hit that target, whatever it is, right? No. Dollar cost average. If we dump again, I'm continuing to buy, right? A weighted dollar cost average. And then guess what? If we get that 2-week move back up and the bottom's in and we never go back down to those lower targets, I'll be happy. And guess who's going to be super pissed off? Everyone looking for everything to go to zero. If the plan happens different, we come down here, we don't have any good, the charts look like trash. Well, at some point, right, if the charts call for it, and we're going down to 30K, I will look at that. It's a valid target, and I think there's a valid argument to say that price is going to go down there. But I need to see, we haven't broken the key support yet, right? So, and again, weekly oversold momentum waves. Weekly oversold RSI. Scrub back to the beginning of the stream. I showed you 1-to-1, right? There has never been a good time to expect price to go to zero from a situation like this. Doesn't mean it can't happen, right? If it happens, it happens. But, again, when I make my decisions, I base it off the charts. I base it off information. Doesn't mean price can't go lower, but it has never indicated the way that the RSI looks, the way that oversold RSI, oversold weekly momentum waves, money flow in the red, never indicated ever that it is the start of the bear market. Yes, you can go lower, but was this the start of the bear market? Was this the worst part of the bear market? No, this was. If we go down again, is this the worst part of the bear market? No, this was. So just my thought processes, right? Not financial advice. I could be wrong, but that's what I do. All right, so let's see here. Let me pull up the local levels here once more. Still kind of just bing-bonging around here. So again, right, even locally, 15-minute green dot confirms. What happens? Oh, my God, we're going up. We're going up. Oh, my God, what's happening? Right, but how am I viewing this? Ebb or flow to the upside for potential lower high, lower low. Shout out to Block is Real. Said, what is the target for BTC? Depends on what time frame you're talking about. Did the 4-hour print. 4-hour red dot is now printing. Right? So, again, is this a place where I would look for a massive long? Not necessarily. Does that mean you can't continue up? No, right? But, again, I'm long from the low. That's the beauty of, being long from the right spot. I don't care about missing this long, right? If it winds up coming up from here, great. I'm already in the long. But, if I were to take a big long position here, again, like not only am I fighting the money flow here, right? 30-minute green dot, maybe we get a little more of a retracement. But, more often than not 100%. Guys, if it was 100%, I would put a bot on this and I would just print money without doing anything. But, my context here is like, hey, money flow is coming out on the 24-minute. Money flow is looking to cross over into the red on the 30-minute. 15 minutes already in the red. 4-hour red dots printing. I am not, if I long here, sure, you could take a scalp if you wanted to try to, some people only trade the counter trend, right? Some people wait for a big drop, get a little scalp here, get out, wait, get out, right? Some people trade the counter trend, but for me, I like to trade with the trend, right? So even in this case, I would be more willing to look for a short back down, not a long from here. Number one, I'm long from the low because the value area low is where you want to take the longs, in my opinion, right? I don't long the value area highs. If I wasn't long from down here, this is not typically where I'm looking for big longs. And the other thing is, right, money flow is coming down. So if I'm expecting this to just be a lackluster move to the upside for another lower low, I mean, why would I long that, right? I would rather just wait for a retracement and then go short. That's just me, right? I get stopped out of trades. Sometimes I'll wait for that. I'll take the trade, and then price just continues up, and I stop out, right? And that just is what it is. You're not going to win every trade. If you get into trading and you want to win every trade and you don't like losing, you're going to have a hard time making money trading. You have to be a good loser. You have to understand. You have to have no ego. Delete the ego. Get the ego out of your head. Very hard to do. It's nature. It's human nature. Markets are all about liquidity. Yeah, 100%. Shout out to Kodak. Volume, liquidity. Those are the things that the market cares about, not arbitrary patterns. At the end of the day, right, it doesn't even really care about money flow, right? Money flow just helps you kind of identify and simplifies the trend, right? Doesn't mean it can't help you, but yeah, it's like one of the big reasons I don't trade patterns because the market does not know that it's in some kind of shape. It's more of a way to describe price action, in my opinion. And again, right, if I were to long here, right, let's say I take a long here. You know, if you want to long here. It might play out, right? You have a chance of being right. But why would I personally not long here? Well, I'm fighting a fresh 4-hour red dot, right? So if I'm expecting this to be a bigger ebb or flow to the downside, you know, I am fighting that, right? I just printed a 4-hour red dot. That's not a signal to take a long, right, for me. And then you come up to the 5-hour. The 5 hours printing a red dot. The 6-hour is starting to roll over, right? This looks like they might want to cool off a little bit. The trend, if this does continue down, could continue up, in my opinion, right? But it's just not where I would take the long. And just from a simple perspective, look at these green candles, right? Like, it's just not where I would take a long. We'll see. Maybe it'll moon. It's super important. Moving average 50, 100, 200 is just losing game. Shout out to Kodak. I don't know exactly what you mean by that. But yeah, we'll see. Let me pull up those local levels again. So we'll see. These would be the bigger retracement levels. I don't know if we're going to hit these on stream. Would be pretty cool. Take a sip of that Aztecian cactus moss water. Shout out to Chevy Hemi. Hey, shout out to the Hemis out there. Used to have a 5.7 myself. Tomorrow at noon. What's happening tomorrow at noon? 8-hour crossing into the green. Yeah, money flow. So just that's, I mean, part of the reason, you know, same thing as the 4-hour money flow, right? Ever flows to the downside for higher lows and higher highs. Trend pointing, at least right now on the medium hourly time frames, more towards a trend to the upside. But the red dots, right, again, you want to view those as ever flows down. Ebbs, right? The overall trend could be likely to continue up based off the medium hourly time frame money flow. So, yes, I meant if people use moving averages to long and short, it's a pure casino. Yeah. And to be honest, if you do it with good enough risk management, you could probably be sure there's someone out there that trades only moving averages, but they actually use good risk management and they make money. And again, if someone did that, I would never tell them to change their plan, right? If you're making money, keep doing what you're doing, right? I don't trade patterns. If you have been making money for the past 2 years trading patterns, don't change anything. Right? I mean, you could maybe learn new stuff. Maybe volume profiles will be even better for you, but maybe not, right? Like if you're making money, don't change it, right? I would never push someone to just, not do what's making them money, right? Like my dad crushes. He crushes. He doesn't use charts. He always asks me like, hey, maybe I should learn the charts. Like you're doing really good. You know, teach me. And I'm like, dude, you do really good too. Just keep doing what you're doing. If you start incorporating charts into what you're doing, if you're making money, incorporating the charts just might hurt you more than help you. You know, basic understanding of the charts might help you, but very likely will, in my opinion. But I mean, he's making money, right? Like he doesn't have trouble. He's never. And the reason for that is when he's wrong, he cuts his losses, right? So, and that's something, you know, I don't know. He trades like sentiment, basically. Like sentiment, and I guess he like pays attention to the news. That is like very much not what I do, right? I'm like against that personally. But he makes money. I would never try to talk him into trading how I trade. And when 10-10 comes and you take moving averages on 2x leverage, liquidation nation, shout out to Kodak. How much profit do I usually take at the POC is a common question. It's personal preference, right? Like, for me, like, I'll just draw it out here to make it simple. Value area high, POC, value area low. Say you long it. It depends, right? If I get in below the value area, like low enough, if I get like a sniper entry down here and I have a, 2.5% move to the value area low, that's enough for me to take partial profits in case you get a bearish retest. Right? Maybe I take the long. If I get a bearish retest here and it nukes down, it depends on the context of the market, right? Like if I want to hold a portion of this long, right? Let's say I take this long, but money flows crossing into the red. Right, here's your 0 line, money flows in the green, and it's crossing into the red. My overall anticipation here, let me draw this a little better. Right, my overall anticipation here, if money flow is crossing into the red, is not usually going to be a high probability rotation of the profile. Right, because what would I expect here? I would expect a lackluster bounce to the upside for lower highs and lower lows. So in a case like that, if I'm in below the value area, I either take TP1 at the value area low if it's further enough away, and I move my stop loss to break even. I hold that trade. If it stops me out, I make money. If it continues to play out, nice. Because in this case, I would say the higher probability is that you don't get to fill the profile based on your money flow. So in that case, if I'm in below the profile, take it at the value area low. But just to keep it simple, let's just say you get in at the value area low. You could do 50% at the POC, close the rest of it at the value area high. You could do 20% here, 20% here, and then hold the rest for a swing. Again, it depends on the context of the trade, but it's personal preference, and mine's kind of dynamic. It depends on the context. I kind of change what I do. In the case right now, it's actually a rarer situation for me. My long from the value area low right now, I haven't taken profits, and we've already rotated the whole profile, right? But that's based off a specific reason. It's very rare that I do that. But my stop loss is at break even. So it's just a risk-free trade. If this, regardless of what happens here, if it rips up, if it goes down for a bigger pullback and then rips up, or it stops me out, I'm either going to lose nothing or I'm going to make a bunch of money. But again, that's a lower probability. I don't do that often. Shout out to Shamitri, I think that says price action is king. I would argue this, right? I would say, at the end of the day, if you want to know what king is, it's a footprint chart, right? Like I incorporate this because price action, if you're looking at price action as candlesticks, this creates the candlesticks, right? So like what is price? Price is buys and sells. So if you're looking at price action just based off candles, you're missing out on a lot of information, right? Until you can dig into the candlesticks and see actually what buyers and sellers are doing at which part of the candle, candlesticks are kind of naked, right? So I would argue that price action is buys and sells. So a footprint chart looking at something like this is going to really be king. I don't trade this alone, right? I use this as like extra confirmation. But yeah, I would say like the rawest form of price action is not candlesticks at all, right? The rawest form of price action is actually looking at the footprint chart and understanding where the buys and sells are happening in the candle, where the value area is in the candle. That is really, I mean, even this, this is a TPO profile. Back to the low, back to the high. Above the high, back to the low. Insane. Yeah, when I use moving averages, I'm usually using them on a higher time frame. And again, I'm not saying you can't use moving averages on a lower time frame, but for me personally, I use them on the higher time frames. It's part of the things that we were looking at here. Obviously, the 50-week moving average, the 100-week, the 200-week are very important here. One of the things that we used the moving average for right here was like, hey, if we lose this, and it's never alone, right? If we lose this 100-week moving average, what happens every other time we lose the 100-week moving average? Big capitulation, right? Pull up the Bitstamp chart. All right, lose the 100. Usually you lose the 50-week. Bear market's here. Oftentimes you'll retest the 50-week, not always. Once you lose the 100-week, that's where the big move happens. Right? Lose the 50-week. Bear market's here. You retest. back down, lose the 100-week, big capitulation to the 200-week, right? But another thing we use this as is like, well, hey, if we lose that 100-week, we also have a massive low volume gap down below, putting us in a perfect situation for a big capitulation to the downside, right? So it's always combined with something. But that's just me. Doesn't mean you can't use them on lower time frames. Shout out to Shamitri said, I understand that by reading the candles as did the masters before trading new. You could totally just trade price action by just looking at candlesticks. 100%. You know, people trade price. There's a million different ways to trade. But again, right, like this is naked. Like what if you could see the actual buying and selling within the candle? There's information you could pull from that gives you a much better read on what's happening. But you could totally trade price action. 100%. You don't need indicators. I'll never say that. You do not need indicators. Some people trade raw price action. Some people just trade the footprint charts. But like most professional traders nowadays are looking at footprint charts. Do I ever wake up at midnight just for trades? Not really anymore. You know, when I was earlier in my career, I would, right? I was basically an addicted junkie. At this point, right, I have my set, you know, trading is a game of trapping, not a game of hunting. I should make a t-shirt with that on it. Plan the trade, trade the plan. That's it. Sometimes I'm sleeping when the setup sets up. In that case, right, usually the Discord will take the trade and I'll be like, hey, I didn't personally take this because it happened while I was sleeping. You know, it's very, in my opinion, it's like at some point health is more important. Money can't buy you health. I guess it could buy you better treatment though. But yeah, no, I definitely used to in the beginning. Now I don't do it as much. Sometimes I'm up late at night and I do catch it, but shout out to Same Max says, please, Frankie, streaming time doesn't seem the same as before. Shout out to Say. That's because it is not. Shout out to you, brother. Dance prank on YouTube. Ask Frankie. He'll hit your head on the wall. Dance prank on YouTube. Yeah, not worth waking up over a trade. Yeah, I mean, it's just, I don't know. I guess it depends on the person, right? The reason I don't freak out is because I have a skill. You can't take my skill away from me, right? I spent years developing my skill. You can't take it away, right? My skill enables me to find high probability trade setups. If I was not in a long right now and price ripped up through this gap and came up here and I was not long, I don't care because I can find every day when I look at the chart, I can find sometimes there's not high probability trade setups, but I'll be able to find where the high probability trade setup I want to take is, and then all I have to do is wait for the level to get hit, right? Set your trap, wait for the mouse to come take the cheese. Once the mouse takes the cheese, fire that trap. That's where the money is, right? So I don't cry over missed money. Like, and I think it comes with years of trying to mute emotion, right? For example, recently, I did not catch this long. Oh my God, I'm never going to make money again. That's what people feel like. Oh, I missed the move. Why would you care? If you can actually find high probability trade setups, I missed this move. I don't care, right? And during that time, I talked about that. I was like, hey guys, I'm on this move. Am I FOMOing in at the top? Oh my God, I'm missing the move. I'm missing the move. Long, 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 long. No, what do? I take the short. I make a bunch of money. I'm still holding a portion of that trade. I got $3,100 locked in, $1,500 unrealized, right? I'm also holding shorts from higher, right? So I don't care. Like when I miss this move, I don't care because I know thousands of dollars is coming next, right? Then I caught the long. Made even more money, right? So if I miss this move, I don't care. It's the same thing as missing this move. I have a skill that enables me to find, like it doesn't matter if price is trading between 60 and 70K or if price is trading between 200 and 300K. I'll be able to still find those trade setups and make money. More from a spot bag perspective, it's a little harder, right? Because obviously, like, if you miss the low, it's like you're not going to get as good of a buying price, right? But from a trading perspective, I just simply don't care. It's not like when I wake up tomorrow, like when I miss this trade, it's not when I woke up the next day, I'm not going to have the skill to find more money in the market, right? I make money here, here, here. I can make money here. I can make money here. If I miss this, I can catch this. If I miss this, I can catch this. Or if I miss this, I can wait for this and then catch that, right? because I understand how to read price action. I have a strategy that works. And, yeah, I don't know. Unless you give me like a lobotomy, then I would be worried. And it really helps with emotion, right? Because, again, not only is emotion, all you're feeling, like, why do you care if you missed this trade? I missed money, right? Like, it's an emotion. I don't care. I'm binary. I'm a robot, right? When it comes to trading, which obviously I make mistakes. I get emotional trading too. But you have to think of it like that. I don't care, right? And then once you start trading for a while and you understand you miss enough moves and then catch enough moves, you stop caring about missing a move because you're like, I'll just wait for the next one. It is what it is. That's how trading works. You start caring about missing every move, guess what you're going to start doing? You're going to chase the long here, get wrecked. You're going to chase the short here, you're going to get wrecked. You're going to chase the long here, you'll get wrecked. And then once in a while, you get lucky and it'll play out, right? But that's not going to be consistently profitable over time. Just another boring job, pretty much. Yeah, shout out to Chatmaster. I have a couple of shorts on my channel where I just recorded myself trading. And they're actually super energetic and high energy. That's for content purposes. But I think like a part of it is like, all right, I'm going to take the trade here. Let's see if we can get the rejection. And then it like goes in 70x speed. And I'm sitting here, I'm like spinning around in my chair. I'm like on my phone. And like an hour passes. I slow down the video and I'm like, this is what trading is, guys. Right? It's not like, okay, buy. All right, $200. Sell, $300. Buy, $200. You could do that by like micro scalping, but there's a lot of noise on the lower time frames. Most new traders will get chopped up doing that. But again, like the way I make money is like, it's a boring job, right? It's just another day of sitting there waiting for a trade to play out. Have you ever tried to automate your trading strategy? Yeah, for me, there's a lot of discretion in my trading, so it's really hard to like train a bot on the discretion. 15-minute money flow went into the green just now. Does that invalidate the 1/16th with the 4-hour red dot? We'll reconfirm. Shout out to Olger. Where's Market Cipher? Here we are. In my opinion, right? I mean, at the end of the day, right? Like, there's no binary answer to this. Maybe, right? And I really think that's where a lot of people get caught up. It's like, well, no. Like, is that the invalidation? To me, right? At the end of the day, this could be a fake out, and it just rips, right? Again, why don't I care about that? I'm long from the low. I have the high probability trade set. I would not be trying to FOMO. And if I was not holding this long, would I FOMO long here? No. I wouldn't say it's a FOMO long, right? But would I long this higher low? I would actually say, well, guess what? You're at a golden pocket 786 retracement. This is support. So I don't want to say that this is like a FOMO long. It's not. This would be like a sound place to take an entry on a higher low and a higher high. Would I personally take that in that situation based off the context right now? Probably not. Why? 4-hour red dot is still printing. It just printed. We still have almost 3 hours left for this to confirm. This has still plenty of time to continue us down. Does that mean you shouldn't take a long off that level? No, you could totally long that. But for me, again, that's coming from someone who wouldn't care if I missed the move, right? It's not a setup I would take. Doesn't mean it won't play out. But for me, I still see 30-minute money flow trying to cross over into the red. I still see the 5-hour red dot about to print, right? Like this looks like it wants to cool off at least a little bit more. But again, I'm coming from a position that if this continues up, I don't care, right? I'm going to make money. But I personally, if I was not in a long, I probably wouldn't be chasing that. If I did chase it, right, I would have been looking to long this 786. I would have tried to catch a very low entry, right, and I'd almost be up 1% already, right? I personally wouldn't chase this at the time. That's not advice to you. That's just how I would handle it. And the reason for that is because the 4-hour red dot is still printing. The 5-hour red dot is still about to print. The 6, the 8-hour VWAPs are looking to cool off. To me, that says you can get a little bit more of an ebb or flow to the downside. Even if, maybe you can come up. Did we hit the key levels? Yeah, we didn't even come into this level just yet. All right, you could come down there before the lower high. You can come up here before the lower high. But again, not necessarily. So yeah, simple answer to the question is, does it invalidate it? I mean, the money flows back in the green, but that 4-hour red dot continues to print. This could just be a fake out for a bigger red wave. Am I using footprints on TradingView? No. I use exocharts, and I've been checking out MMT as well, which I really like. I may switch, but I'm a creature of habit. For the most part, I use exocharts, at least as of right now. If you get a lobotomy, you definitely wouldn't care? Yeah. Definitely not. Wouldn't even know to care. Yeah, shout out to Kodak said I got your point. Higher time frame will always overpower lower time frame. You don't get fake outs on market cipher B. The 4 hour is on the 4 hour as often as the 15-minute. 4 hours overbought. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, like this is a slight fake out on a lower time frame. That 4 hour red dot would overpower that. Absolutely. Shout out to Kodak. Well said, bro. Shout out to Rich says, we're all willing it lower. It brings alts down with it, and I could buy more. Yes. Shout out to you, bro. Shout out to, I think it says Patrick, maybe? It says, jokes aside, this is a very nice mentality, and I hope I can have a nonchalant response to price movement as well one day. Yeah, shout out to, I mean, it's really, it's the key, right? And again, you could try to think to yourself, what causes me to have that overly emotional response, right? I think, number one, the fact that we're humans, you have an overly emotional response, especially because money is involved. But I think another thing to think about is, maybe you get, when you lose a trade, ask yourself this question. When I lose a trade, I go like this. Oh, gotta stop that at the long. Anyway, Mrs. Candles, how was your day? Right? I don't go, oh, I got wrecked. Why? Because I have a risk management plan. When I take the trade, every trade has risk. If you don't want to risk it for the biscuit, you got to risk it for the biscuit, right? At the end of the day. There's never going to be a 100% high probability trade setup. I get stopped out. But when I get stopped out, it's a small loss, right? For example, last week, I took along a small scalp long at the POC. As you guys know, last week, the major levels I was actually interested in was the retest of the value area high or the value area low. Once we got down to the high, we had money flow coming out. So at this point, am I interested in a big long? Not really. I'm looking for the continuation of the trend to the downside. Right now, within this volume profile, I am, and the only reason I'm interested in a long at this value area high is because maybe it could be a bullish retest, right? But the two key levels I was interested in, I had a trap here, I had a trap here, right? Technically running down to here, right? I'm interested here, I'm interested here. This price level gets hit, I check the chart, I'm no longer interested, I sit out, I hold my short from higher. Once I get accepted into the profile, the next likely place for price to go is, you guessed it, the POC. The only level, big interest here, no confirmation, no trade. Or, yeah, I think we had some low time frame build divs here, but again, confluence wasn't really there. Money flow is going against you, right? I'm not looking for a higher low and a higher high when money flow is coming into the red like that. Second big area of interest was the value area low because we had confluence down here. The only other level between those two levels is the POC. This was the less interesting level for me, but I still took a scalp long, right? It was a smaller position size. It was a very tight stop loss. I don't remember exactly where it was. I lost this trade. Did I care? Was I emotional when I got stopped out here? No. Number one, I was kind of expecting it, but again, it was controlled risk. Very small loss, and I was hedged in the short, which was much more profitable, right? I was already massively in profit on the short. This loss, not only was it a small loss, way less of than the profit that I made here, but also when we lost the POC, we expect to go to the low. Guess what? I continued to profit off that short, and it covered the losses from this plus profit, right? So it was kind of like a super low risk trade for me. But either way, right, it's a small loss. It's a controlled loss. When I entered that trade, I knew when the stop loss got hit, I would lose X amount of money. Right, so I already accepted that, I just pretend like, yeah, that money's gone. If not, I'll make money great. So it's just like, oh, I got stopped out. Well, and then, of course, being hedged and making money on the dump kind of helps as well because I'm actually making money on the way down. So, like, when you get liquidated or you get wrecked, right, that is a trade management issue. That is a risk management issue. So if you're getting really emotional on your losses, you have to ask yourself why. Why did I get so emotional? Well, I lost a ton of money. Why did you lose a ton of money? You should have only lost 1% to 2% of your account if you're using good risk management, right? Or at least just like you would have, if you expected that if you lost, you would lose that much money. Why is it such a big deal, right? So you got to ask yourself these questions. This is the stuff that is beyond strategy, beyond technicals, that is really the secret to making money, right? It's you versus you. It's not even you versus the chart, right? The chart's going to do what it does. It's you versus you. Accept the loss, right? I always talk about this. If you risk 1%, let's just say you risk 1% of your account. You could lose 50 trades in a row and still have half of your account left. So why would you be super emotional over taking one loss? You still have pretty much your whole account left, right? Capital preservation is just as important as growing capital, if not more. Let's see. Olger says, does the 15-minute money flow going into the green invalidate the rule of the 1/16th? Not really, because the 4-hour red dot is still printing, right? Technically, if that 15-minute money flow crosses back into the green and it happens while the 4-hour red dot's printing, I would just view it as a market cipher B 1/16th, right? It's never going to be perfect, right? So let's just say maybe this just fakes out and stays in the red. Right. Again, you got to be careful watching the lower time frames. A lot more noise. So even if this confirms in the green and then goes back into the red while the 4-hour red dot is printing, it's technically just the same thing. It's another 15-minute 4-hour market cipher B 1/16th because the money flow crossed red while the 4-hour red dot was printing. You're going to get noise on these lower time frames. So there you go, right? Like if this just continues into the red, like right now, all right, money flow's crossing red, 4-hour red dot's printing, it's still technically valid. That's called good losing. Yeah, shout out to Chatmaster. I saw something on Instagram. I love the way the guy worded it. He's like, to be a good trader, he's like, I interviewed some of the top traders on earth, and one thing I learned about them was, number one, the first thing on the list was that like they were all good losers, and I was like, that is the most true thing ever. You have to be a good loser. You also have to be a good winner too, right? Like you don't want to get overly emotional on your losses. You also don't want to get overly emotional on your wins, right? Like even when I make a bunch of money, I'm not like, yeah, let's go. I'll do it on stream, right? Because it's like more of a content thing. But if I'm sitting here alone trading, like when I make, if I make 10 grand on a trade, I'm not like, let's go. I'm just like, okay, cool. Boom, close, partial take profit. Just another day, right? You got to try to really, it goes both ways. You don't want to be overly emotional when you lose or when you win. Shout out to, I think that says Patrick. I can't really read it. He says, when I went to Ukraine last year, I noticed they have Bitcoin exchanges almost everywhere. Like physical exchanges, like Bitcoin banks. That's kind of fire. Shout out to New World Disorder. Says, while I was playing crypto leverage like a casino, I bought BNB and Solana at the recent bottom to slow cook. Shout out to New World Order. Hopefully you're not gambling. I guess another part of being a good winner is knowing when when you've actually won, knowing when to take profits and not hang in there and get wrecked later. Yeah, absolutely. You got to pay yourself when you're in the green. If you don't pay yourself when you're in the green, you will very quickly end up in the red. What time frame am I generally entering trades on? It depends on the trade. I stop and analyze what went wrong when losing. I'm into inefficiencies and basic tools. Yeah, you always have to kind of, I think journaling's important, at least in the beginning. I think it's important in general. I probably should journal more than I do. But I think one of the most important things to journal is obviously, what kind of setup you took, why you took the trade, obviously your entry price and all that, profit loss. And then like the mistakes that you made, whether it's a winner or a loser. Like you can have a winner and still make a mistake, right? I've had examples in the past where I made $4,000 on a long and I classified it as a C- execution, right? The setup was good, right? But my execution was terrible. I moved my stop loss. And like you can have a winning trade that's bad, right? At the end of the day, I can say, I'm just going to long this. At the end of the day, price can rip and I can make money on that trade. Is it a good trade? It's good that you made money, I guess, but it could still be classified as a bad trade, because it's classified as a bad trade because you didn't follow your plan. You might have over leveraged, you might have over risked, whatever it is. And just because you made money, it doesn't necessarily make it a good trade. Why? How could that be, Frankie? If you make money, isn't that a good trade? No, because if you just gamble, right? If you hit a jackpot on a slot machine, does that mean that you should make your career going to a slot machine and just gamble? No, you're probably going to lose all your money. It's the same thing with trading. If you gamble and make a bunch of money on a trade, I've done that before. It's not repeatable consistently over time, right? You have to wait for the high probability setup. So that's how, if I take a gamble here, if I just 100x long right now and I make $1 million, not necessarily a good trade. Why? Because if I repeat that, I'll probably end up blowing up my account. Yeah, shout out to Regular Guys Trade said, watch the beginner series, watch them all, and then rinse and repeat as often as needed. Yeah, I would agree. They're free. They're free 99, baby. Problem with most new traders is the low capital, high leverage trap. Yeah, the 1 to 2% stop loss is insufficient with low capital. Yeah, I mean, here's the thing, right? At the end of the day, you're not going to turn $100 into $1 million, especially as fast as people want to, right? I just recently, actually, I have to reload my seed phrase because I have an account that I put $1,000 into, and I flipped it into 15K, right? I did it, I think, in like 2 months, I believe it was. I'd have to look at it. It's I tried to open it yesterday to open a trade. I tried to use it today to open a trade, but my wallet, I don't know, MetaMask defaulted, so I have to re-enter that was part of the reason why I got mad before. Who said that? That was why I was getting mad earlier before I got on stream. But so like, can you flip $1,000 into 15K? Yes, but you have to understand, right? I've been trading for like almost 9 years now, right? I was not able to do that when I was a week or a month into my trading journey, right? And the other thing is, right, that's different than $100. So, and I didn't do that by gambling. I did it by using good risk management, taking high probability trade setups and managing those trades efficiently. So you can absolutely, turn $1,000 into 15K. I think it was like 2 months, maybe 3 months. So you could do that, right? But the problem is, right, most people want to do that in their first 2 or 3 months trading. And again, like, another thing that I talk about a lot is your position sizes, right? You can put $1,000 into an account and take a big position size as long as your stop loss is tight enough to protect you, right? If I have an entry, let's say I have an entry at this wick low, and let's just pretend this was an SFP setup. My stop loss and invalidation for the trade is below the wick, right? Let's say my entry is right there, and I have a really tight stop loss of 0.09. I can have a very large position size there, even with not a lot of money, right? Even what you could put, if you have $1,000 account, you could put all $1,000 on that trade. What you don't want to do is lose that value. I think people confuse this, right? Risking 1% of your account. If you have a $100 account, risking 1% is $1, right? That doesn't mean you can only put $1 of margin on that trade. It means that if you lose that trade, you only lose $1, right? So your position size, like if you take it's not that you're putting $1 on the trade on 50x leverage and entering a $50 trade, right? You could put all $100 into that trade, right? But when you get stopped out, you can only lose 1% or 2%, which would be $1 or $2, right? So I think people mess that up. If you don't understand that, go watch in the beginner series the only leverage trading tutorial you need to see. So how that works is, if you have a very tight stop loss, right? If I have a stop loss of 0.1, I could take a much bigger position size. If my stop loss has to go down here, I could still take that trade, but I have to lower the position size to account for the bigger stop loss. Hopefully, if that doesn't make sense, go watch that. Tony D, can you link that video from the beginner series? I think a lot of people need to watch that. But yeah, I mean, if you put $100 into an account, you're only going to be able to take certain size positions at to a degree, 100%. But I think people underestimate how much money you need to make a good amount of money. May the truth be with you. Shout out to Chevy. Shout out to Olger, said, so as long as the moment a dot prints, the money flow is in the same color as the dot is confirmed. Before that, it can go crazy. Shout out to Olger. I think you're splitting hairs. Go watch the Market Cipher B116. Tony, could you drop the 116? Go watch the beginner series. Go watch the Market Cipher B116 tutorial. And that, if you haven't already, that should I assume, Olger, you have watched that. I would rewatch that tutorial. At the end of the day, the strategy is you want a red dot printing on the 4-hour red dot is printing, 15-minute money flow crosses into the red. I wouldn't split the hairs of like even this, right? Like, oh, we faked out into the green. I'm not really paying attention to that, right? I wouldn't be like, oh my God, we faked out into the green. Now we're back into the red. This means it's not going to play out. That invalidates it. What this would look like if it was invalid is if that 4-hour red dot was printing and like the 15-minute money flow was like in a big green wave, right? That would not be like, let me try to find one, right? Like, if this 8-hour red dot prints and my 30-minute money flow is like up here and that 8-hour red dot is about to confirm, it's like that would be invalid. I wouldn't, like, to me, this 15-minute, 4-hour 15-minute is valid. And again, it doesn't guarantee. There's nothing here seeing a fake out into the green and then, oh, it faked out twice or whatever the intricacy here is not going to give you like a guaranteed fake out or not, right? It's more of like a directional thing. 15-minute money flow in the red could continue the downtrend. We'll see if this happens. I'll try to stay live to see if we can get that break. And would that make sense? Well, yeah, we have the 4-hour red dot printing, right? Yeah, I don't know if I understand the question, but I would watch the tutorial. I wish I knew about stop losses in 2017. I was wrecked. Shout out to New World Order. New World Disorder. Shout out to Izzy. So that's why I like Warbucks. It's allowed me to trade with much bigger position sizes. Yeah, Warbucks is a prop firm. That's like one big thing. Is like that's one thing I wish I had available to me when I started trading was funded accounts, right? They basically, you could either take a challenge or Warbucks offers instant funded accounts where you can just buy an account that's like 10, 5, 10, 25, 50, $100,000. You pay the fee to get the account, and then you have to follow certain risk management requirements, right? You read through the rules. You have to be careful because a lot of prop firms have like really, basically every prop firm reserves the right to like take your account away if they see you break a rule. So you got to. That's kind of one of the fallbacks of prop firms and why I prefer to trade my own capital because I don't want to worry about following like all these weird rules. They have all these different rules. But it gives you the ability to trade other people's capital, right? Or, you know, they all work different ways. But you could pay, you know, X amount of money for a, you know, say if you don't have $50,000 to trade with, you could pay, you know, whatever it is, $500, whatever it costs to get the $50,000 account or the $25,000 account. And then you can trade that with much more capital. But I wouldn't recommend using a prop firm until you are actually making, I mean, you have to follow the risk management rules. If you're gambling, you're gonna wind up getting your accounts taken away, or you're just gonna blow up the accounts and have to buy more and buy more and buy more. So you do have to be careful. But yeah, I wish that was a thing when I was trading because it would have forced me to use risk management. I would have learned how to use risk management way faster, right? Because if you're gonna gamble on a trade with max leverage, max position size, and then you make say $10,000 on a 10K account, you double the account. You have to stay within consistency rules. You have to explain it. If you watch my Warbucks video, Tony, maybe you can link that. I kind of talk about those rules. And then you also don't have to hold your own, you know, with an exchange, right? You have to hold your capital on the exchange. Exchanges can get hacked. So there's trade-offs of each thing, regardless of where, regardless of what you use. Trading a prop firm for the first time today. Shout out to Seaman. Shout out to Chitu. Says, can you show how to pull a fixed range volume profile and how you pull it? Shout out to Chitu. Check out the beginner series. I have tutorials on exactly how to pull them, where to pull them from. Not only that, but how to trade them. I would do it right now, but I do it. I talk about it every day, so I don't want to be like super repetitive. But you can check out the videos. Watch the whole beginner series. It's basically a free beginner trading course. What do I think of Bybit? Good exchange. I don't know. I don't really have an opinion. I don't trade on Bybit, but yeah, it's decent. I use Bybit's chart. Stop losses have come a long way in the past few years. Let's see. It always goes well for me for about a week or two. Then I try to take too big of a bite and I lose it, all ending up to grow a 500 from the beginning. Yeah, shout out to OCB. Really what I would say there is, why'd you take a bigger bite, right? Just consistently follow the rules. Again, that's kind of like goes in, again, I don't know if I fully understand the context there, but, you don't want to get overexcited about your wins. You don't want to get over depressed about your losses. That kind of goes into the same category, right? It's like if you do really good for 2 weeks and you're like, I'm going to size up now. I would take it nice and slow there, right? If you're, and the other thing too, I think that people don't talk about a lot is just like everyone's trying to, I want to put $1,000 in. I want to grow it to 20K. Well, how much do you make from your job? I'll make $150 a day. So if you make $3,000, right, in a week, take that money out, right? Withdraw the $3,000. Feel the money. Your account is back to where you thought it was, or where you started at. You use that account size to make $3,000 in a week, right? That's more than a lot of people make at their job, right? That's over 10K a month. So if you could take whatever capital size you're doing, you make whatever it is, right? It doesn't have to be 3K. It can be 1,000, it could be 500, it could be 200, right? Like make the money, withdraw it, right? And then use that account to print another 200, right? Or print another 2,000, right? And you're going to take losses. You're not always going to make 3,000 a week. You're going to have losing weeks. You're going to have losing months, etc. But make that money, withdraw it, and then keep your same. Hey, I used my $5,000 account. I made $1,000 this week. I'm going to take that $1,000 out. All right, let me see if I can make another 1,000. I'm going to take it. And then people are like, yeah, but then the account size doesn't grow, and then you're not going to make $1 million in a month. And it's like, you got to, like, a lot of people have those lofty goals of, like, I want to make $10,000 a month right away, right? Make some money, take it out, right? Withdraw it to your bank account. Pay a bill with it. Feel it. Wow, I just made some money on the computer, and I just paid a bill, right? Well, that feels good. And if you have a struggle doing that, right, it's probably because you're chasing these crazy, like, well, I got to grow my account as big as possible so I can make $100,000 a month. Take it slow, right? You got to take it slow. Be realistic and pay yourself, right? Yeah, just shake your head and walk away for a couple hours. That's what I do. Shout out to New World. Yeah, it's not a bad idea. Then start checking time frames top down. Yeah. Like, for example, right, I think a lot of people get caught up on the tiny time frames, right? Like in this short, when I'm doing this, right, like when price comes in and we start bearishly retesting, I'm not like looking at this on the 5-minute time frame like, oh my God, my short, what should I do? What should I do? Right? Like, just take a chill pill. Right? And again, I think a lot of that uncertainty comes from lack of plan. Right? If you have a plan, just stick to the plan. What if this happens? What if that happens? But what if this candle pushes up here, goes below the level, and then reclaims it? What happened? What's your plan? If your plan is the first take profit is down here, if you're in a short here, like for example, if I take my short position up here, which I'm still holding, obviously, and my take profit is down here, I do not care what is happening here. oh my God, oh, what if it go up? What if we get, like, no, my plan is here. My stop loss is I have the invalidation above the high. I don't care what happens in here. I'm not babysitting the trade on the 1 minute time frame. Right? I don't care what happens here. As a matter of fact, here, I don't think I was even on the chart. This was at 3 a.m., right? So I think sometimes the best thing that can happen to somebody is like that they're just not on the chart when something happens, right? Because like here, people are like if I was in a short here, I could imagine a lot of people would think, right? If we're looking at this in real time, people are like, oh my God, but look at this bounce. Wow, this bounce, new high coming, new high incoming. Like what are you gonna do? Are you gonna close your short? Like no, I have my plan. I'm sitting in my short. If it stops me out, it stops me out. It's literally no effect, right? It's just like, oh, okay, check it off, loss. Next trade. You don't want to get emotionally involved, right? And until price hits this take profit or price hits this stop loss, I'm sitting in my trade. Somebody asked me recently, what do you do when price goes into drawdown? If price came up here, I wouldn't do anything, right? Until price stops me out, I'm chilling. I don't care, right? Because I'm sticking to my plan. If you close prematurely, you're just not sticking to the plan, right? Sometimes you close, oh my God, it's not going to play out. Like, if you've already accepted you're going to lose X amount of money up here, why are you closing it early? You've already accepted the loss. You got to stick to the plan. That's the difficult part of trading. That's what most people cannot do. It's why most people fail. It's why most people lose money. They get emotional. They jump on the 1 minute. And then, when you're down here on the 1 minute time frame, 3 minute time frame, and you're looking at this, right? You're like, oh my God, I'm short. Why am I short? We're bouncing, right? Stick to the plan. That's the best advice I can give. Well, I stuck to the plan. I got stopped out. Good. Great work. You stuck to the plan. You lost the trade. That's how it works, right? You lose trade sometimes, and you get stopped out. The key is to not get liquidated and wrecked and over-risk. That's the skill. Come on, Bitcoin. Do something here. Come on. Do I have anything for frequency of trades recommended on frequency of trades for beginners? Or do you think as long as the position is reasonable, take it? Yeah, I mean, shout out to Patrick. If I were to give just general advice, I'd be like, I think if I talked to most beginner traders, they would tell me, I took 7 positions yesterday. More trades does not equal more money. More trades equals more risk. More risk, not more money. So I would say the frequency of trades has everything to do with how many setups you have. Right? Sometimes you'll have a bunch of valid setups. And again, it's also, I recommend newer people stay off the micro time frames, right? But, it is what it is. If you want to micro scalp on the 1 minute chart, try it. And it didn't work for me in the beginning because it over tests your emotions, right? You're going to wind up, it's noisy. It's going to wind up with a lot of, you're going to wind up with a lot of emotion and stress, right? It's the worst way to start trading. That's where people get chopped. They get chopped up on the lower time frames, and they're like, this is a scam, I'm done, right? That's how they give up really fast. I would really press learning patience in the beginning. It's really hard to tell new traders because most new traders just want to get in and hit the buy and sell button 100 times a day. And I think maybe you have to learn that lesson the hard way. And don't forget, right, like everybody wants to be like a micro scalper. It is the highest stress, highest involvement. I think don't know. I think you grow out of that necessity, right? I will trade the lower time frames. I'll scalp the lower time frames, but it's not like a necessity to me, right? Like I don't feel like I'm not addicted to going to scalp the lower time frames. I think it really starts off as like an addiction for most people. I mean that seriously. And I think like the further I get into my trading journey, the more I realize like, when you take this trade from the low to the value area high on the particular account here, we hit the value area high. It took 1 day and 4 hours, right? I don't care what's going on in the 1 minute right here. I don't care what's going on in the 1 minute here. I'm just making money on the way up, right? So it's, you want to kind of, again, the key level was we were waiting for this key level last week. We hit it. We take the long, right? Trading, to me, one of the biggest values in trading is the time freedom, right? And like the schedule freedom, the location freedom, the ability to take a trade and not have to sit there and break your back on the chart all day long, right? I do break my back on the chart all day long, but not because I'm babysitting 1 minute trades. What I like is when I'm in a trade and I'm out to dinner with Mrs. Candles and I'm like, oh, the price is dumping. I just made $3,000 or $3,000 more dollars. Oh, cool. Dinner's free times 50. I think a lot of people miss out on that freedom. And like beginners, like I think they like that. Like they like that idea of the time freedom, the location freedom, like the freedom that trading gives you. But like they're also chasing the highest stress, most involving part of the charts, right? What if you could live your life, right? I always said this: if I don't have a YouTube channel, if I didn't have a Discord, I would have my alert set at my key levels, and I would go live my life, do whatever I want, which I do here, but I obviously have to go live. I'm in the Discord as well. But like if I was just like a trader, was not on the internet, I would much more likely be sitting there waiting for the setup to play out, make a few $1,000s, doing what I'm doing. Oh, cool. Let me close this trade. Boom. Easy. Not easy, but like, boom. Great. It's that freedom that I think a lot of people are chasing, and new beginners like really just want to chase the most stressful part of trading, which is scalping. And I get it. I started in the exact same place, right? I'm speaking from experience. And again, I will take, if I'm sitting at the chart, right, like I'll go ahead and take those small scalps. I'll take those low time frame trades. But I think a lot of people, like for me, right, like is this bounce? Oh my God, what about my short? my short. Oh my God. Like, no. Like if I get stopped out of the trade, I get stopped out of the trade. It is what it is, right? Whether I get stopped out staring at the 1 minute chart, stressing out about it, spiking my cortisol through the roof, or if I'm, I'd much rather be cruising, doing something fun and being like, oh, I got stopped out. Wait for the next trade, right? But overall here, guys, we'll see if we actually crack this wick low. But you could see here, 15-minute green dot, just as we explained earlier today, right? Talked about hey, if this VWAP crosses over, get the green dot. I'll look for a lackluster retracement to the upside, a lower high and a lower low, right? And just like we explained on the 30-minute time frame in the past price action, right? What happens? Green dot prints, push to the upside, ends up being a lower high, and technically you didn't crack this low here, so it's not technically a lower low, but you could kind of just see the direction, right? It's like, all right, what is that 15-minute green dot? Am I freaked out about this to be a huge fake out and a massive pump? No. Could that happen? Yes. Do I care? No, right? Because I have my plan. I'm sticking to my plan. But hopefully, if we can crack this low, it'll be perfect learning opportunity for you guys. 15-minute green dot prints, lackluster retracement, lower high, lower low. Money flow is in the red, indicating continuation of the downtrend. We'll see if it happens. I got the alert set. Cortisol through the roof. Burned out adrenals. Ah, yes. Shout out to Kodak. Things like double tops are best on the higher time frames, like the 4 hour. Yeah, I mean, I'm never really looking at that. Not that you shouldn't. Not that it's bad. Just not something I personally usually look at. Thank you, Frankie. Shout out to Servando Estrada. Anytime, brother. There it is, guys. There you go. Scrub back to the beginning of the stream where we talked about that 15-minute green dot and what we would expect here. There it is, right? Not to brag, but to show you literally, like, this is the most detailed I can get trying to explain how price action will move when looking at Market Cipher B and understanding money flow, red dots, etc. Lack green dot, lackluster bounce, lower high, lower low. That's the expectation. That's what I look for. Could it have come up and bounced and faked us out? Yes. What do you do then? I just get stopped out of the trade. Everybody looks for the answer like, well, what if this happens and then that happens? And then like, how do I do that and make $1 million? That's not how it works, right? Keep staring at that 1 minute can be a good emotional roller coaster and can lead to can be an emotional roller coaster and lead to bad decisions and heart attacks. Yeah, shout out to Golden Pocket, Steve-O. Yeah, right? Like, if I were watching that 1 minute time, I mean, it wouldn't happen now because I have experience, right? But, like, if I was watching this 1 minute time frame and I'm like, oh, my God, we're bouncing. Like, maybe I should close my short. Now I'm at break even or whatever it is. Oh, close the short, right? And then what did you do? You kind of just, again, zoom out, take a deep breath, understand your plan, and then stick to the plan. You don't stick to the plan because it's guaranteed to play out. You stick to the plan because it's a higher probability. Shout out to Simo Buck. So is the next stop automatically the POC? Again, that's a prediction mindset, right? Not price is guaranteed to go here. I would say not the next target is automatically the POC. And then out of 100 times, maybe 80 times, you go to the POC, right? It's never a guarantee. That's it. Now we're 100% going to the POC. This is the next place I'm interested in. right? And again, I'm not even as interested in this as I would be to come to if this is the place where you would want to bounce, right? Bounce off the POC, maybe you flip it, maybe you slip it, right? But bounce off the POC, it's a golden pocket retracement based on your 4-hour money flow. That would be where you would want to look for the higher low. Do I love it? Not really. Just like I didn't love it here, I always prefer to go to the value area low. I want to be clear. That doesn't mean, and again, if you want something like that on the chart, it doesn't exist, right? Like, oh, it's guaranteed to go here. I don't know if that's what you meant, but this is not guaranteed, but this is the next target, right? More often than not, I'll look for the POC to get tapped. More often than not, the POC will get tapped, right? More often than not, the POC will get tapped. More often than not, the POC will get tapped. More often than not, the POC will get tapped, get tapped, get tapped, right? Does not guarantee it, right? There's no guarantee. But I would say probably like, I don't know, 80% of the time, 70% of the time maybe, that would be the place to look. But I will say automatically, if we can get a 4-hour candle closer below this value area high, automatically the next target is the POC, right? Doesn't mean the price is guaranteed to go to the POC. Two different things. So yeah. Yeah, there you go, New Earth Guardian. Usually nothing is 100%, right? Make the plan, execute the plan, throw the whole plan away. FOMO in a nutshell. Yes, absolutely. Right? What happens if let's assume I don't take any profit on the short and we don't hit this level and we front run it and we bounce up. Oh my god, I'm gonna close the trade early. No. If that happens, I will get stopped out. If anything, maybe I'll move my stop loss to break even for a risk-free trade. Because let me try to find an example here. I guess this is probably the best example. Imagine, right, for this trade, we took this trade in the Discord, $85,000 into the value area high. The plan here, this was like over the holidays, right? So literally living my life, I'm visiting New York, back to the motherland, and I'm chilling, right? Take the long. The plan for this trade is to hold the value area low and eventually go to the POC. When we come up, front run the POC, and then come back down, I'm not, oh my God, it's not going to play out. I got to get out. You shouldn't be sitting there being like, I got to get out. You should already have the place where you're going to get out. You should already have the invalidation for the trade. And yes, you're going to lose a little bit of money. It's okay. As long as you're using good risk management, you're not going to get wrecked, right? I'm not panic closing it here because it's not instantly going to my target, right? Imagine looking at this on a 15-minute time frame. That looks brutal. Oh my God, what should I do? What should I do? Right? Well, I'm doing nothing. I'm just sitting in my position. It's just up a little less than it was, right? Oh my God, should I close the trade? Oh my God, imagine like panic closing your trade right here and then eventually just goes up to the value area high. Now, once in a while, right, it is going to stop you out. It's unavoidable. You have to, by taking high probability trades, you are naturally going to avoid bad trades, right? There's no way to avoid losing, right? You're naturally going to avoid losing more often than not, right? But you're never going to avoid losing. In some cases, price is going to stop me out here. If I got stopped out on this trade, the next time I saw a value area set up below the value area low like this, I'm going to take it again with a stop loss, and I'm going to hold it until I get up to the value area high or the POC. Are there intricate levels where maybe something changes contextually and I wind up closing the trade early? Very rarely. But like take that for example, right? Imagine panic close. Oh my God, you're watching it. Oh my God, you close it. And then boom, right? Just sticking to the plan. I was not going to get out of this trade until it did this. And luckily, you don't have to be on the chart to see that, right? Maybe I would have been sitting there on Christmas Day, and I would have gotten stopped out on Christmas Day. Would have been fine. I would have been like, oh, I got stopped out of the long. Hopefully that makes sense, right? These are the things that most people don't really talk about, I don't feel like, right? It's the thing that actually make you money. Yeah, once risk is eliminated, you can relax and manage the position. Yeah, 100%. My plan is to get as many trades into profit with no stop covering fees as possible. Oh, with stop covering fees as possible. Yeah, shout out to New Earth Guardian. I got a few of those running right now. XRP is garbage. Shout out to Visionary. Shout out to TRB, said, hello, I need a signal now, please. I lost all my money. Close all account. Close all account, please, sir. Hello. Shout out to TRB. I think you're joking. I hope you're joking, TRB. What if you lose every single time and almost lose all your money? Shout out to TRB. You got to ask yourself why. I mean, I would need to know exactly what happened. But again, if you're using good risk management, right, that would mean you would have to lose over 100 trades in a row, which I find almost very unlikely. So obviously, like, the problem there is probably you're not using good risk management. You might not be trading a good strategy. You might not be waiting to might not be waiting for high probability setups, maybe. But again, right now, it'd be impossible for me to answer all those questions. I wish I was joking. I'm sorry you lost money, brother. That's obviously not good. But yeah, I would need more information to kind of guide. Never financial guidance, of course. Stop losses do the Lord's work. And I think really, guys, I think it really comes down to it being this simple. People don't set stop losses regardless of how important they know it is. They don't set stop losses because they don't want to lose. Not because they don't want to lose money, right? Because if they didn't want to lose a ton of money, they would use stop losses. They don't want to lose. Ego, kill it. Die ego. No ego. They don't want to lose. I don't want to have a red trade, even if it's minus $100 and my wins are thousands, right? They don't want the red trade. They just want all green. They get greedy. They get fearful. It's again, nobody can teach that. I mean, you could teach it, right? But nobody can force you to do that. Shout out to Steve Wilson, said, just joined. What is the setup looking like in your opinion right now? Shout out to Seth. Scrub back to the beginning of the stream and you'll see some very interesting stuff we looked at. That ended up playing out. But I'm, just a quick recap here. I'm short. Came up to hit our key target here, guys. Value area high. Next major target to the downside is the POC. Is that guaranteed to get hit? No. But that would be the next major target within the profile. 4-hour red dot printing. 15-minute money flow crossover into the red. And even locally, looking for lackluster pullback for a lower high and a lower low. That plays out. It will play out more often than it won't. Not 100%, but more often than not. Breaking even with fees covered is a win. Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm short from the value area high. Shout out to New Earth Guardian. Hey, let's go, baby. Let's go. Stop loss to break even, covering the fees. And again, like, there's always a cost, right? Like, let's say you shorted right here at the value area high. Whoops, that was a kind of a crooked line. Let's say you short here at the value area high. Stop losses at break even, right? Sometimes price will be wonky. It'll kind of fake it out. Sometimes you get stopped out at break even. But again, you didn't lose money. So you do, there is a balance, right? Like, sometimes I personally go through some periods where sometimes I like to move my stop loss to break even. If I enter a trade at night, sometimes I'll move my stop loss to break even once I get into like enough profit. And almost every time I wind up getting stopped out when I wake up. So, there is kind of trade-offs there. Could still tap the 786 before the nuke. Yeah, we do have the untapped 786 up here. Yeah, could be. Definitely not impossible. But I do like that 4-hour red dot printing and your 5-hour red dot printing, 6-hour red dot following. So yeah, I'd be looking for something. If we get the move down to the POC, hopefully we can hold the higher low for the continuation up. And then again, we lose that. We got the biggest key levels of support down here, 786, daily MPOC, lose 63,851. That's where we look for the bigger move down. Until then, could be higher lows before seeing the bigger move up. And then, yeah, that anchored VWAP. Let me pull that anchored VWAP up once again. Where is it at? Come on. There we go. Anchored VWAP sits here at about 74.6. That is kind of the last thing holding you back until seeing that bigger move up towards the 80,000s. If we bounce randomly from here, it is what it is. People will say, what do you do then? Right? Well, I'll just stop out of the short, and the long continues to cook from the low. It's the beauty of being positioned correctly in your trades. So there you go. Bitcoin will always stop you out in the middle of the night when you're sleeping. Yes. 24-hour trading is a gift and a curse. Yeah, shout out to Erica. That's dang right. Best advice for getting stop hunted? I feel like I'm being watched. Shout out to Riley. Yeah, my best advice for not getting stop hunted, I will give you a couple of tips. But first, guys, I'm not going to lie. I have been drinking a lot of water recently, trying to stay a little bit more hydrated than I typically do. And I got to take another rare Frankie Candles bathroom break. I got to run out of here. I'm trying to stay here, but I'll be right back. We'll play a little bit of money, a little bit of music. We'll play a little bit of our favorite song. It's called Financial Freedom because we make money whether the price goes up or down. I'll be right back. I got to pee. I'm going to sit on the I don't sit when I pee, guys. Don't sit when you pee. It's a bit weird. If you're a guy, at least. If you're a girl, it's okay. I was going to say I'm going to sit on the toilet backwards, but I'm going to pee. So I'll be back.
Up or down, we get paid either way. Long when it bounce, short when it break. Yeah. Up or down, we get paid either way. Long when it bounce, short when it break. Market go red, that's dinner on place. If you only win one way, you late. Yeah. Up or down, we get paid either way. Money in the bank when the candles shake. Broke boys pray, we calculate. If you fear both sides, you too late. Yeah. Price go up, I ride the wave. Price fall fast, I short the gray. They need green just to feel okay. I make money in a hurricane. If you bullish only you half a trader. Market turn red, you a spectator. I stay paid in every layer. Volatility my elevator. They panic selling, I'm scaling in. They revenge trade, I'm stacking wins. They chasing candles, I fade the trend. They cash out calm while they hold the L. You want direction, I want range. You want hope, I want exchange. You want luck, I want edge. That's why my account don't beg. Up or down, we get paid either way. Long when it bounce, short when it break. Market go red, that's dinner on place. If you only win one way, you late. Up or down, we get paid either way. Money in the bank when the candles shake. Broke boys pray, we calculate. If you fear both sides, you too late. I don't need green candles to eat. If you're scared too short, you're scared to win. Profit don't care about direction. Bulls celebrate, bears pay me. Volatility is my direct deposit. Your hope is my liquidity. I don't predict opposition. Fear is where the entries live. You pray for pumps, I prepare for dumps. I make money in corrections and celebrations. The trend is your religion. The range is my income. If the chart move, I get paid. Yeah. Up or down, we get paid either way. Long when it bounce, short when it break. Market go red, that's dinner on place. If you only win one way, you late. Up or down, we get paid either way. Money in the bank when the candles shake. Broke boys pray, we calculate. If you fear both sides, you too late.
All right, we're back. Empty bladder. Guys, I got a 64 ounce water bottle. I weigh 200 pounds. Can someone tell me how many of these I'm supposed to drink a day? Some people go to the doctor. I just asked the CandleMafia. Somebody let me know. Somebody said it yesterday, how much you're supposed to drink. All right, let's see. Fear is where the entry lives, baby. True words. All right, let's see here. All right, well, we said we would wait for the break of structure to the downside. We got it locally here on the 15-minute. And, yeah, there we go. Let me see here if I can pull this up real quick. Short, up almost 700 now. Not too shabby. I'm in so many trades right now, guys. I'm like had to make new sub accounts. Really, quite annoying. You could use it as a toilet under the desk. Yeah, maybe. Absolute fire. Shout out to Big Huggies. Half your body weight in ounces a day, but you can get away with the 64 every day. That sounded like a poem. Shout out to Tony D. All right, so one of those a day. Almost finished it. Get the OZs. Shout out to Fade and Trap. Said, "Oh, you're 200 pounds. How tall are you, Frankie?" I would have thought 155 max. The camera cuts 50 pounds. Yeah, shout out to Fade and Tradfi. I am 6 foot. 6 foot, 200 pounds. Frankie needs the money gun. We got the money gun. I got to get some new batteries for it. Oh, no, should do 100 ounces. All right, I got to fill that sucker back up. Cactus water. Yeah, I do drink about a gallon of Aztecian and cactus moss water a day. 64 minimum. I've been drinking way less than the minimum, that's for sure. Put some salt in the water. Yeah, shout out to OT. I think you said, were you the one that said that yesterday? Salt in the water helps. Okay, I'll put a little salt in the water. I guess drinking salt water, that's probably not very enjoyable. I don't know. I might like it better than regular water. I have like an aversion to water. I don't know what it is. Shout out to TRB. Said, first time you hear support and resistance, go watch Frankie's free trading series. Yeah, definitely go watch the beginner series if you have not already. Everybody in the chat, homework, watch the beginner series. And, yeah, that's probably all you'll need. Somebody said time to unsub. This tells me the person is too emotional to trade. Yeah, shout out to Patrick. That is 100%. It's so funny, man. I don't know. It's like I don't even really pay attention to that stuff anymore. It's like I feel bad. I used to say this in the beginning when I first started my YouTube channel. We would get hate. I'd be like, I would talk about it a little bit. But at this point in my life, I feel really bad for people like that. Like, imagine how sad your life has to be. Imagine how sad. And I have been there, right? When you're in dark places, it's very easy to show hate. So, like, it's kind of hard for me to even, like, go after haters because it's like, I feel you, brother. I usually just tell them it'll get better. So whoever, I'm sure they're still here, too, by the way. What was the username? We'll see if they're still here. It's funny. They're like, a lot of people show hate, and then they'll chill and chat. We can spy on chat. But, yeah, it's like I didn't get to where I am today by being a hater. As a matter of fact, like I said, I'm not a perfect person, guys. When I was in a bad place, I found myself having hating tendencies. And it's really easy, right? When everything is not going your way, it's easy to be a hater. I've never, what do they say? Haters punch up. I love that one. Hate comes from below. But like haters punch up is so funny because it makes them look like little munchkins. Like, I hate you. But yeah, it's I feel bad for people like that genuinely because there's a lot of people in pain in the world. But I just imagine I know what it's like, right? I imagine what someone like, I hate Frankie Candles. Sick, dude. It sounds like everything's going great on your end. But I know that because that's what I was. I was a little gremlin one time. And I'm embarrassed that I even have to say that. All apples are different. It is sad, but it is what it is. Yeah, it's bro, you suck. Sits in chat the rest of the stream. Yeah, you would be surprised how often that happens. It's hilarious. But yeah, it's can't pay attention to it. I've never met. I forgot who said it. I never met a hater doing better than me. Right? Usually, people doing better than you don't hate. Right? They do the opposite. They try to bring you up. So yeah, it's a sad thing, but hey, people are humans. You gotta feel for those people. I was one of those people. I just needed to change. I needed a little bit of love. How can anyone hate Frankie? The heck, yeah. Shout out. We very rarely get hate. I don't know. But yeah, there's no way to avoid. I mean, you go on the internet. If you go on the internet not expecting any hate, you're probably in the wrong business. So yeah, it's like obviously we put ourselves out there. So no one hates candles. Nobody. I'm loved by all. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not a. I don't think I'm not. I'm not super. I don't think I'm super hateable, but it doesn't affect me. They're like, yeah, it doesn't affect me. Guess what? It doesn't affect my life. I still got Mrs. Candles. I still got an endless skill that will pay me thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars over and over and over and over again. You could get on the train or you can hate and never make money. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to say. I hate candles. I love rupees. Okay. Shout out to TRB. Rupees. I heard six cups a day of water. That sounds like for a fish. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what they're trying to get people to drink so much water for. I think drinking water is it's a psyop, guys. It's a psyop. We still getting money. Yeah, not gonna stop me. And I like you. All right, bro. Unless that's gonna start taking away from my P&Ls. Don't matter to me. Don't matter to me. It also helps, right? I think that's another thing people don't realize. Like, they're just really supporting. But again, we deal with like one hater a month, which is, I'll take it. I'll take it. Shout out to Wildcard Poker. Thank you for the super chat, bro. He said, I'm still gay for you, Frankie. Is what it is. I appreciate you, brother. In a platonic way, I love you back. Anyway, flushes out minerals, avoid too much water. Okay. Oh, my God. You're supposed to drink too much water, not enough water. I don't know. Maybe I'm going to live forever. I actually was curious if there was a reason you seemingly mainly trade Bitcoin. I don't really need to trade anything else, to be honest. But I do trade altcoins. I'm just not interested in trading altcoins right now. If I see a setup on altcoins, I will. Like, specifically right now, I'm just not interested. But again, even for like beginners, everybody wants to jump into altcoins. It's all going to follow Bitcoin, right? Like, master the one asset, right? Master the master asset before you move into other things. That's what I recommend. And I only speak from experience, right? There were times where I would chase altcoins and trade altcoins on leverage only to have a beautiful setup on whatever, XRP, I don't know, whatever I was trading, only to not be realizing that Bitcoin was going to dump. And then the setup on the altcoin just doesn't play out. Now, more often than not, the altcoins just kind of mirror what Bitcoin's doing. So they look very, very similar. But, yeah, like, you don't need to necessarily trade altcoins, right? Like, again, if I see a nice trade we shorted Zcash at the top almost, well, on the retracement, I guess it wasn't from the top. I do trade altcoins now and again, but, yeah, it just doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter what the ticker is, right? It's just like what matters. Actually, how's Zcash doing? I haven't checked in on Zcash. Actually, funny story. I accidentally closed this trade way too early. I meant to take partial profits and ended up closing the entire position, which is super annoying because it ended up playing out exactly to the target that we looked at for a swing. I believe it was this setup. Right, we shorted it on the lower high. We waited for this level for quite some time. And it was simple market cipher B analysis, right, as well as other things, volume profiles. It kind of incorporated everything. But the reason we anticipated the lower high was very simply money flow coming out on the daily, right? So this bounce was looked at as lackluster for a lower high and a lower low. Eventually, we were looking for this value area high to get tapped. Right, this value area high was the final target for that trade, and then we point to the POC after we get the acceptance into the volume profile. Technically, if we get stuck inside this profile, the next target would be the POC. But yeah, like we'll trade the altcoins if I see a nice setup. But I would say for the most part, I trade mostly Bitcoin. Kind of sprinkle in the alts there from time to time. But this is super annoying, right? We had this set up in the Discord with the final target at the value area high, and I ended up closing my trade by accident, the whole position, way early. Would have been a massive trade. It is what it is. Yeah, shout out to Crypto Lucid. Altcoins to max returns, but also multiple losses on the way down. Everyone wants a 50x. 50x wins, but aren't prepared for the 90% drawdowns. Yeah, 100%. And it's not that I don't buy altcoins long term. I just don't leverage trade altcoins as often as I trade Bitcoin. I leverage trade altcoins. I just don't do it as often as I trade Bitcoin. So yeah, all right. We got the lower low here, guys. We are probably going to see some more turbulence here, right? This might not be the low. We might still get bigger retracements into the fib. But overall, my plan is going to remain exactly the same. I'll give you the medium-term expectations here real quick. Inside, it's very simple. I don't want to overcomplicate it. We came into the value area high. We took the short. We're inside the value area. If we get stuck in here, next major target will be the POC. If we can hold that, potentially an area to put in a higher low before getting the bigger breakout, that's what I'm looking at. If we can't hold the golden pocket POC, I'll be looking down simply towards the value area low, which guess what, guys? We'll be looking for another long position. Long the lows, short the highs. At this point, with our 4-hour money flow in the green, My anticipation that I'll be looking at right now will be lackluster pullback. If we get to the POC, this would be golden pocket retracement for the higher low and the higher high. I'll even give you a little bit of a local level as well. Golden pocket. And then, I mean, you could pull this local fib as well, which is kind of what we tapped into before. Golden pocket. So these would be kind of the two levels. Again, like, am I interested in taking these longs? No. Why? Because I was not afraid to long when we were getting the dump, right? I'm long from here. So I'm not personally interested in taking, I'm not saying there's a trade set up here, but if you're looking for local levels of support, local Fibonacci retracement sits between 68,229 and 71,767. Once we lose that, overall, I'd like to see the continuation down towards the POC. This I would be much more interested in for a bounce. Again, I don't know what price is going to look like if we get down here. If it looks good for a bounce, maybe we can get the higher low. If not, I'll just be viewing this as a volume profile, right? Next target's the POC. Lose the POC, I'll be looking to go down to the value area low. Biggest level of support on the chart to the downside, if we're looking for the dump down to below 59.8, 63.851. Daily MPOC. Pull it up. There you go. So we'll see. If we do just randomly get the continuation up, I would say the line in the sand here, I'm actually going to pull the full fib here. Line in the sand is going to be 72,248. If you can get above 72,248, hold it. That would invalidate the idea of a lower high coming in. And at that point, I would look to crack the highs here. Biggest key level of resistance above the highs is $74,600 at the anchored VWAP. So not too far off of the resistance that we have right here. Right? We get the bigger move up, right? 74,600 is going to be the next major target at the anchored VWAP. Once we can reclaim that, that's where I think we can see the bigger move up towards $78,000 to $80,000, right? It's pretty much just looking at, this is going to probably be confluent, just basically flipping above the high. And again, low volume up here could lead to a fast move up, right? Until we get above there. And again, money flow does point towards that potentially being the case. But again, 4-hour red dot indicates the ebbs and flows, right? Potential ebb for a potential flow. Money flow makes you anticipate the continuation of the uptrend. That doesn't mean you can't pull back. I'm just trying to make a little bit of money here on the pullback. If it winds up turning into a swing, beautiful. If it puts in the higher low, great. We're long from the low in the premium. So, would like to see a slight pullback before it dumps. Totally could happen. 144 for Zcash, 220, 144, but yes, it's almost there. Shout out to Kodak. I'm not sure exactly what that means, but shout out to Kodak. And we're not talking about Kodak Black, the rapper, guys. We're talking about Kodak Purple. Shout out to Kodak. But yeah, guys, that's what we're looking at. I'm going to continue to hold the short, and I'm going to continue to hold the long. Beautifully positioned here. I'm going to go live my life and see if I get a notification that I'm stopped out. But thank you guys for tuning in. I appreciate every single one of you. Hopefully you learned something on this live stream to help you on this crazy journey they call becoming a trader. If you guys want to support the channel, smash that like button. Make sure you subscribe. Turn on notifications so you don't miss these key levels. We looked at that value area highs, the next high probability target in confluence with money flow. We hit it today, and we're now making money on the way back down. So thank you guys for being here. Check out the links in the description down below if you're looking for a place to trade or you want to check out any of the indicators I used on this show. Smash the like button. I have to start saying that more. I never say it anymore. But yeah, I'll see you guys tomorrow. That's all I got. Hasta pasta. Frankie Candles out. Bing bong.
Here we go. At the top of the class on a roll. And it's time to run it up, yeah, you know. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor. Ayy, on the road, here we go, here we go. Yeah, we winning by a landslide. Never see me coming, I'm a landmine. Yeah, I ain't taking orders in command like, yeah, you about to see me on demand like, you know on demand. If you ain't know, you about to understand. Yeah, I got the team by my side, right hand. Yeah, take it to a string, you ain't seen it like that. Yeah, and it's the dream, and we coming for the bag. Yeah, and we ain't never going back now. Future expedited, now we on the fast track now. They won't lend a hand, now they see us on the map now. It's time to act out. Here we go, at the top of the class on a roll. And it's time to run it up, yeah you know. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor. Hey, on the roll, here we go, yeah. At the top of the class on a roll. Hey, and it's time to run it up, yeah you know. Yeah, maxed out, put the pedal to the floor. Yeah, on the roll, here we go, here we go. Here we go, at the top of the class on a roll. And it's time to run it up, yeah you know. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor. Hey, on the roll, here we go, yeah. At the top of the class on a roll. Hey, and it's time to run it up, yeah you know. Yeah, maxed out, put the pedal to the